I'd like to call the
Testing one.
City of Oldsmar City Council meeting of December 5th, 2017 to order. If you'll please rise for our invocation and our pledge that will be led by our City Attorney, Mr. Tom Trask.
Our Heavenly Father, as we approach Pearl Harbor Day and as we exercise our right of self-government that we enjoy as free citizens of the United States, we pause to thank you for the freedoms given to us by the generations of patriots who have preceded us and who risked their lives so that we may live as free men and women. We pray for the members of the armed services for the sacrifices that they are making, and that you will continue to comfort the families of those injured or killed while serving our country. This we pray. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and once again, welcome. Our first item on tonight's agenda is the Citizens Open Forum. We only have a couple of rules that you state your name and address clearly for the record. You keep it to no more than 5 minutes, and if you are speaking you can speak towards anything on the agenda tonight, and I don't see any public hearings, so you can speak towards anything on the agenda tonight at the Citizens Open Forum. Otherwise, we ask you to wait till that item comes up. Having said that, we'll go to the light side of the room. Anybody on this side? Yes, Sheila.
Sudagantis Cologne, 402 Arlington Avenue East, Oldsmar, Florida. Want to start off by saying happy holidays and Merry Christmas to all our council, city attorney, city manager, and staff. It's going to be a great holiday season. I am breaking the rules. I'm wearing a hat inside, but I figured Santa hats might be allowed. We wanted to say thank you for Christmas Wonderland. Our dancers opened up Christmas Wonderland on Friday to a great crowd. We had a wonderful show. We had about 30 little dancers that were very proud. Mayor was able to open up for us and welcome everybody. And then we followed it by some caroling with about 14 volunteer carolers that we hope to continue as well. So I just want to say thank you to the city for another great event. Thank you to the staff. Thank you to Leisure Services, Felicia Donnelly, Bryn, and all of them that have made such a great Christmas Wonderland a tradition of ours. And dance will start up January 11th for anyone that wants to come dance with us. And yes, I am collecting tutus for numerous council members. Thank you very much.
I'd like to wish you.
Gabby will look nice in one. And Jerry.
Live long enough.
Anybody else on this side of the room? I guess Ken.
Good evening, folks. Ken Sidorowicz, 5 Pelican Drive, representing the Oldsmar Historical Society. Just a final reminder that this Saturday is our Holly Jolly Trolley Tour, 1 p.m. and 2:30. There are still some tickets available. And on the tour, there will be a quiz. Not so much a quiz. I've given each of the city council members a copy of the quiz. It's not so much a quiz as it is an informational factoids about our fine city. Everybody gets the first question right, as you can see. And I've taken the liberty of using a few of the council members' names in one of the questions. And thank you for the permission. So if anybody needs tickets, please see us at the Historical Society. Thank you.
He also did an article for Gullair Village on the Indians that was in town. See, everybody thinks that Safety Harbor is the one that had all the villages. They only had one village. Oldsmar had 5 or 4 villages.
We'll go with 5.
Of the Tococabaga Indians. There was one at down yonder where that thing, you get up on it and you ride the rope down in Gullair Village. There was one down in Gullair Village. There was Gullair Village, Mobley Bay. And there was actually one at Gullair Village. So sometimes somebody's going to go out there at Mobley Bay and they're going to find one of those canoes that's going to be worth about $500,000. And when you find it, they're going to take it away from you and they're going to give it to the state of Florida. But find it, because it's down there somewhere, buried in the mud. Anyway, so Gullair Village has the honor of having one of their Tococabaga Indians villages right there. Anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up.
For that. Anybody else on this side of the room? Jerry, do you have anything? No? Can,
It can set it, that's fine.
okay, perfect. Then we'll move to the staff side of the room. Dean, you don't have anything? Okay. Seeing nobody else, we'll close the Citizens Open Forum real quick. I'll just do a couple recaps and upcoming events. The annual Mayor's Breakfast was last Friday at Safety Harbor Spa. Thanks to the Chamber and City of Safety Harbor for hosting this event. Great job also by the Upper Tampa Bay Chamber of Commerce. It was a sold-out event. I don't have a final total, but I can tell you a couple of the trees sold. One sold for $1,300 and one sold for probably $800 or $900.
Yeah,
So
the police trees.
yeah, the police trees. So we raised a ton of money, and I think there was almost $1,000 in the 50-50. So about $500 went to the charities as well. So thanks for that. Next year it will be at Nielsen. So look forward to that. It's always a great event for great causes. Our Christmas Wonderland, as they were saying, it's a great event. Snow sled riding, caroling, Santa, and of course, thanks to Miss Suda and her dancers. You guys did a great job. I stayed for a while, and it was really entertaining. So also tonight, we did our annual tree lighting ceremony. Citizen of the Year, Sharon Edwards, officially lit the tree, and also thank you to the Countryside High School Band and Band of Pride and the Varsity Chorus. They did a great job. I don't know if it was one of our biggest attended, but I thought it was a great event put on by Countryside High School. It's nice to see the city still have that heritage of a small town village. So upcoming events, Toys for Tots now through Friday, December 8th. Donation boxes at City Hall, the fire rescue. Small unwrapped toys for newborns to 14 years old are needed. Any contribution is appreciated. Christmas open house, Friday, December 8th, 6 to 9 p.m. at Oldsmar Fire Rescue. Photos with Santa, fire truck rides, ornament making, and more. I've been a couple of years in a row, and it turns out to be a great event with well-attended and lots of fire truck rides. So stop by that. Breakfast with Santa, Saturday, December 9th, 9 to 10 at the Oldsmar Chick-fil-A. Advanced tickets, discounts available at the Municipal Services Center, Rec Center. Includes a kids' meal, picture, and a gift from Santa. The Santa Claus mailbox is now through the Tuesday, December 18th. The big red mailbox will be out in front of City Hall. Kids can write a letter to Santa, and he'll write them back. Be sure to include your name and address. Food for Fines drive now through December 21st at Oldsmar Public Library, accepting donations of canned goods or boxed items in lieu of overdue fines. And this is kind of a good one. This happened after the shooting in Texas at the church. The Chamber of Commerce and the City of Oldsmar has put together an active shooter options for a citizen's response. This is both for citizens and businesses and any soft targets, churches and daycares that we have in the area. It's going to be Thursday, December 14th, 4 to 6 p.m. at Nielsen, a training presentation by the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, 45 to 60 minutes long, and will address in detail the options you have. If you ever encounter an active shooter situation, call the Upper Tampa Bay Chamber to register or go to their website. Details on upcoming events can be found at myoldsmar.com. And that's the Mayor's Minute, or minute and a half. And before we get into the consent docket, I have a to be announced on my agenda. I have no idea what that means.
Oh, 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 Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
I understand you guys have been busy this year.
Yes, we have.
Well, good.
This better not cut into your time making toys for me.
Okay. I'm glad to come to Oldsmar every year. You guys did a real good job. So make it a little bit cooler, will you? Next time it's getting a little warm down here. I'm not used to the heat. Bring the reindeer down here yet because they gotta work.
Yeah.
Okay. I understand there was a challenge made a couple weeks ago, a month ago maybe, about writing a poem.
This is not going to go well.
Well, it could go well if you did your homework. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to collect the poem from you if you've got it written on paper. If it's on your phone, I'll collect your phone. So if you would,
Regift it.
this young man right here is one of my elves. go up and collect the pieces of paper from them.
Hell, you have a terrible problem, I think, tonight.
There's one.
I could write it out. I have it on my laptop.
Just,
on my
he'll
tab.
take that too. No, we're gonna read these over a period of time at the council meeting. So if you guys would please put it down on paper and make sure we get a copy of it. You can give that back to him.
Hey, Santa asked for my tablet. I'm giving it. I've had some issues this year, and I'm not chancing it. Thank you.
Make up for something he's done. I don't know what it is yet, but.
I'll text you.
Oop. Okay. Go ahead and give everybody, the names are on. We have a little something for you for
Just give me the
being
badge.
as good as you've been. If it doesn't fit, you probably haven't been good.
I'm out.
Mine will be too big then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not out.
Thank you so much.
With that, I'm going to head out. Merry Christmas to you all.
Guys.
Keep up the good work. And remember about the weather.
Yeah, we'll look into that.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Santa.
Santa, we're really happy to see you here tonight.
Keeping the dream alive.
Keep it alive.
Thanks, Santa, and the elves, and the parents that helped tonight. First item is our consent docket. We have a couple items. I'll read those. Approve the minutes of the August 15th, 2017 City Council meeting. Approve payment to legal counsel. Request to approve waiving bid requirements and awarding purchase of 2 Chevrolet Silverado pickup trucks to L&J Fleet Sales under the same terms and conditions as the National Joint Powers Alliance, contract number 2018-120716-NAFPB 17-002D. Fourth item, request to approve the interlocal agreement providing joint control of pollutants within Pinellas County. The agreement for a period of 5 years is between the City of Oldsmar, Florida Department of Transportation, and other MS4 National Pollutant Discharge Elimination Systems co-permittees. And the last item is approve the tentative agenda for the January 2nd, 2018 meeting. If nobody wishes to pull anything, I need a motion.
I do.
Pull item number 3.
I wish to pull one.
Okay. Eric?
I'd like to pull item number 3.
3 and 4. Can I have a motion for 1, 2, and 5? Second. Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Item number 4.
I want to know how we're going to control it. We're going to join with Pinellas County to control the pollutants. How are we going to control it? That's all I want to ask.
So, Dan.
Nan?
Somebody help me out there.
Ask my public works director to address that.
This is a contract we enter into every year.
Yeah, this is nothing new. We do this every
I know we do it,
Okay.
but I want to know how we're going to control it.
recycle.
This is the permit for the municipal separate storm sewer system that's part of the National Pollution Discharge Elimination System. And it's complying with the Federal Clean Water Act. We do a variety of activities all over town, including things as simple as street sweeping. That does a lot to pick up the pollutants so that they don't go into the waters of the state. We make sure that when a construction site is under construction and the vegetation is removed from the soil, that there's some kind of protection for erosion and sedimentation control. We maintain the stormwater system, the ditch maintenance that we do. All of those are
When you
activities.
say we, we're talking about Oldsmar now.
City of Oldsmar, correct.
That's good. Oldsmar does a great job. How about St. Petersburg? Are they part of this?
Petersburg is the only municipality in Pinellas County that does not, they have their own permit. They're not one of the co-permittees. Every other municipality in Pinellas County and the county
It's
and
sad, isn't it?
well, they're big enough to have their own, but we've all worked together with the DOT, and we have what's considered a joint permit. And this agreement is for the next 5 years of saying that we're going to continue on with that joint permit.
So I know that Oldsmar is going to fulfill that. I know that. And we do this every year because we're going to be part of it. Other parts of the county and other cities, they join this. It sounds great. We're going to join this. And then they sign their name to it, and then it goes down the toilet somewhere. I'm glad we do it.
Okay. We each are individually responsible to DEP as well as the joint permit. It is not, you know, if one of us fails, we all fail. We're each individual municipality and the county and DOT are individually responsible to the DEP.
I understand that, but individually they don't fulfill their commitment. That's all I wanted to know.
Well, and you probably get notified. I get the DEP notifications in my city email, and I don't want to say we're never at fault, but in all the time since they activated that notification process, maybe a year ago or so, maybe not even that long ago, I have gotten bombarded with notifications from other municipalities within Pinellas County. And I guess, do we just get Pinellas counties in ours? Probably. I don't know if we get others in the surrounding area, but I know Pinellas County for sure, a lot of municipalities were getting notified. And sometimes it's very small amounts, right? I mean, they want notification for just about
any amount.
Yeah, so, but we do not get notifications, or I've never seen for the city of Oldsmar.
Oldsmar does great. Thank you all. Probably one of the biggest offenders, not defenders, but offenders is none other than DOT.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's all.
Okay, thank you. We'll go over number 3, Mr. Seidel.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick question for our city manager. I just wanted to confirm that was part of our capital improvements budget.
I'm sorry?
That's in our capital improvement budget?
It is.
I just wanted to confirm, that's all.
Combined total of the two is less than what we have budgeted for both purchases.
Perfect.
From the same
The
question.
pool, money towards the pool.
That's
I
right.
can't remember if I asked him that the other day or not.
That's fine. So if everybody's fine on 3 and 4, can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passes 5-0, thank you. Next is the city of Oldsmar. Consider the appointment of Greg David as an alternate member of the Code Enforcement Board. Here by chance? Oh, there. We were told you were going to be excellent, so.
How y'all doing?
Good.
Great.
Can you
My name's
tell?
Craig DeViti.
V.
DeViti, yes, sir.
A little bit about yourself. What we do is we try and bring people up to be in front of the council because sometimes we don't get a chance to meet you and know a little bit about you. And
I moved to Oldsmar about 3 years ago. I've lived in Tampa Bay area for about 30 years. I'm a former police officer with the city of St. Pete, and I own a business over in Safety Harbor.
we won't hold that against you.
Have you ever been before code enforcement?
No.
You could have started out with like the Leisure Services Board and been a lot easier, but you stepped right into code.
Project,
Huh?
depending on the project.
Right,
it could
yeah,
be.
that's true too. So, as Tom will attest, it's quasi judicial, and so I've sat through a couple of them, very interesting. So, thanks really though for wanting to do it. It's interesting how many new residents we get in the city of Oldsmar who want to step forward and be a part of the process and all that. So
Yeah, I just want to help out my community and see where I can
That's great.
plug in.
We
really
appreciate
is.
it.
I say this all the time at our volunteer dinner that, we wouldn't be able to do it without we have as many volunteers as we have employees, basically. So thanks. If anybody else have questions, is this where we make him do this? Do we get sing or dance tonight?
I think tonight's dance.
Dance tonight is the
There was
dance.
a lot of singing earlier. So
Singing. So tonight is the dance portion, unless somebody wants to waive it now.
We'll waive it.
So if there's no other questions, can I have a motion?
So move.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passes. Thanks.
Welcome
Thanks, really.
aboard.
Thank you.
Yeah. Item 7, consider reappointment of Ken Sidorowicz and Tom Brown as full members of the Lever Services Board. I know Ken's here.
Tom's there too.
Tom? Oh, yeah, you are behind Jerry.
Hey.
And if you guys want to come forward, maybe tell us how many years you've been on there, because some of these get up into the double digits.
2000.
2,000 years?
Wow.
2000.
Was Beaverland mayor? Oh, high school, that's right.
He was still my neighbor, too.
Yeah, he was on code enforcement board, right? Yeah. So how long, since
10
2000,
years.
how long you been on?
10 years.
10. So thank you. Any questions of the Ken or Tom? Thanks again
Thank you
to
for your
what you
service.
guys do. So
They've already answered all the questions by being on the boards.
yeah. Well, and it's become a little bit, I don't know if it's as contentious as it was, but when we merged the two boards together, it was a board of about 15 or something like that. So, yeah, and so what are we down to now, like 13 or something like that? So, but you guys do a lot of great stuff for the city as well, so thanks for everything you do. Any other questions? If not,
No, good seeing you, Tom.
need a motion?
Second.
Second?
Our honor.
Motion and a second. Thanks for,
You guys.
the city thanks you too.
We need to vote on it.
Vote?
All in favor?
Aye.
Stand there. Might have cost us everything we did. Huh? Next is the Council Manager Award, and I will do that. And it's my honor.
No.
You're thinking business.
Oh, business. Acrylic, it's acrylic.
Trying to hurry tonight.
Our last meeting of the year. Essentially.
Yeah.
Test, there we go. Okay, today is the big night. The Council Manager Award is given to a citizen in the city of Oldsmar who has demonstrated success, leadership, and I am very honored to welcome up here Gwen. Ready? I got it. Tahilo, come on up. I did it. Okay. She has lived in Oldsmar for 6 years. She has served on the Code Enforcement Board for the past 5 years, since 2012. We met for the first time at the Oldsmar's volunteer dinner in 2012, and I remember I had the opportunity to actually sit down next to you and your husband, Tony, and I was very, very impressed. And I thought, wow, she's going places. She's also a graduate of the 2013 Janice Miller Citizens Academy class. I really got to know her last year at our centennial celebration. She was a volunteer on the task force. I invited Gwen to serve as chair for the Country Western Fifth Friday. And I'll never forget what you said. Do you remember what you said? What do I need to do? And I said, basically, you needed to work with the volunteers and find the bands. And you were like, what? I have to find the bands? She ended up finding the Christy Vale Band, who turned out to be a huge success to kick off that Fifth Friday. And we had the Soul Circus Cowboys, courtesy of the Chamber. The Chamber helped us find them. But one story, a short story I want to share, is I'll never forget. It was the actual day of the event, and she called me at work, and she said, Dan, I need you to go to Tampa Bay Downs right now and get bales of hay. And I thought, where am I going to get bales of hay? She says, you got to go down the road to the left and in the back and go around to the stable. And I'm like, okay. So I go driving down there in my pickup truck to find these bales of hay, and I'm driving around, I have nowhere to go, and all of a sudden this girl comes out and she starts waving to me, and she says, are you here to pick up the bales of hay? We love Gwen, we love her, come over here. I'll never forget that. That was really, really good, and that whole event at the Centennial was a huge success because of what you did, and I thank you for that. Her husband, Tony, they have 4 sons. 3 of them attended the Oldsmar elementary schools. The oldest son is currently serving in the United States Navy.
Nice.
The family frequently visits the local parks, enjoys bike riding on the Oldsmar trails, and I know you do a lot of trail riding with Becky, and I've seen that. She's a senior real estate specialist and a local TV movie star. that has been featured on HGTV's House Hunters 6 times. Congratulations, that is awesome. She is one of the newest members of the top of the Morning Toastmasters Club right here. We meet here on Wednesday mornings. I convinced Gwen to start that a couple months ago, and she said, I can't do it. I can't do it until October 1st. And then sure enough, she's been to every meeting. She's won awards for best speech. She's won awards for best table topics, and she is taking off as a superstar. And I want to thank you for your leadership and your desire to help others in the community. And I look forward to seeing what you're going to do in the future for the city of Oldsmar. And I am honored to give Gwen, oh, let me say it right, I got it written down here, Trujillo, the Council Manager Award of Recognition for December 2017. Congratulations. Say something.
I am very honored to accept this. I have lived here for about 6 years now, and ever since I lived here, right away, I became involved with actually code enforcement. And it seems like every year I kind of add something to the list. So I thank you so much for adding the centennial onto that list as well. It was so fun, and I was able just to feel like really like a part of the city.
Great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Gwenny goes too good.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Well deserved.
Congratulations. Next is our presentation by Whit Blanton for Forward Pinellas. Whit, bless you.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Whit Blanton. I'm the Executive Director of Forward Pinellas, and I do have a PowerPoint presentation to give you. And I hate giving these PowerPoint presentations. I really just like coming and talking. That's my preference. But the Big C group wanted a presentation tomorrow morning, so we combined. And one thing that I do enjoy doing is this time of year, I go around to all the municipalities, try to hit at least once a year, and I love coming to Oldsmar. Your meetings are a lot of fun and a lot of entertainment too. I just wanted to use this opportunity to talk a little bit about some of the accomplishments that we've undertaken, and then highlight a few things that I think are important for your consideration as we deal with transportation and land use at a countywide level. I won't bore you with the history of why we formed Forward Pinellas, but you may have known us as the PPC, Pinellas Planning Council, or the MPO, for a number of years, and we merged and rebranded over the last couple of years. We maintain a countywide land use plan and a countywide long-range transportation plan, and the long-range transportation plan is the avenue for getting state and federal funding for transportation dollars here in Pinellas County. We are also involved in regional transportation planning efforts and have been working closely with the Department of Transportation, Hillsborough Area Regional Transit, the Hillsborough MPO, and Pasco MPO to advance regional transportation priorities here in Tampa Bay. Notably, coming in January, the Regional Premium Transit Plan will be coming to the end of its first phase, where we'll be identifying priority transit projects for the region. And for the first time ever, really, the Florida Department of Transportation has been an excellent partner in helping get public transportation projects funded in this region. We still have a heavy lift to go in terms of local commitment, but I've never seen this kind of level of effort by DOT, and I think that's important. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about what are we focusing on here in Pinellas County. And we are a multi-jurisdictional planning agency, and we've adopted the slogan Adapt, Build, Connect, or the ABC approach, which is we are largely a developed county, so we're focusing on redevelopment primarily. We are also needing to adapt because we have climate change and other issues that are forcing us to look at sea level rise and how that affects our transportation facilities and how we become more resilient as a county. Think about the Gateway area, which is where A lot of our employment is based along with Oldsmar, and much of the Gateway area and a large portion of Oldsmar are in the coastal high hazard area. So we have to think about storm, surge, and higher winds and things like that. And so when we talk about adapt and building in the right places, that plays into that. Transportation connectivity is incredibly important, and one of the things that we're working on is improving connections between Oldsmar and Safety Harbor and linkages to the Pinellas Trail. We have a project underway right now with Pinellas County. We secured the funding, and Pinellas County is implementing the project to complete a portion of the Pinellas Trail loop from the park at Tarpon Lake all the way down to Enterprise Road. And there are some alignment discussions they're looking at, one of which would bring that closer to the city of Oldsmar. And so we're working with them on that, and we'll bring that back to you when we're ready with a design option. But they're evaluating some of the different alternatives. But it would be great to bring that in to your park. And I forget the name of the park on the western end of the city right now at 580.
Yeah, Oldsmar Sports Complex.
Yeah, the sports complex, thank you, to bring that in and tie that in more directly. So that's something that we're working on. I wanted to highlight a few of our annual accomplishments. They're highlighted in blue, one of which is really important to you all is our Planning and Placemaking Grant Program. This is a pilot program that we've made available to all municipalities in the county. This year, it's the first time we've done that. We've set aside not a whole lot of money, but $50,000, and we've invited local governments to respond to that. It's to assist with grant funding to undertake a planning project in a local municipality that would help further countywide planning objectives. So if you are interested in pursuing that, we'd be happy to provide your staff with additional information. We may award one grant, or we may award 4 or 5 grants at smaller levels of funding. In addition, we have a grant that's open for Complete Streets projects, which is $100,000. Last year we awarded 2 grants, one to Clearwater for the Drew Street corridor and one to the county for the Lellman 54th Avenue North corridor, and both of those are underway right now. We also advanced one Complete Street project in St. Petersburg, 34th Street South, in the construction phase, and that'll be funded, we hope, next year for construction. Let's see if I can advance this. Now we're stuck. There we go. I wanted to highlight something that is probably better for tomorrow when I meet with the beaches communities, but we work with the Florida Department of Transportation on Gulf Boulevard to advance the design of green bike lanes in high conflict zones, because we are killing and injuring a lot of pedestrians and bicyclists in Pinellas County. We are double the national average, which is unacceptable. And one of the ways that we're beginning to try to stem that tide is by adding high visibility markings, not only in the crosswalk areas, but also along bike lanes in conflict zones. And think about it, if you're driving along a roadway and there's a bike lane to the right, and yet there's a driveway or an intersection that you're approaching, that bicyclist is traveling along and you may be turning right. And I've been knocked down twice on my bicycle. Both times I was in the bike lane and a car overtook me and turned right in front of me.
I apologize.
Yeah, I know. And, I've had people target me who may have been mayors in other cities. But, that kind of treatment it's not going to solve the problem, but it's going to be one step in the right direction. And I think DOT, you can see the example of the after pictures down in Treasure Island. It does a lot to just make sure that people are aware that these folks need to, they're there, they belong there, and they're visible, and it signals their presence. There's some other treatments like shared lane markings that we've also implemented in different locations in Pinellas County. And more of these pedestrian crossings are going up throughout the county. And I know some drivers don't like having to slow down or stop for people in the crosswalk, but it's an important thing for people to be mindful of. And we're looking for more opportunities to put those in the right locations. Our Complete Streets program, I mentioned, we are looking for projects for Complete Streets that have an economic redevelopment angle to them, so there's a catalyst, and we've seen throughout the country that when we transform our roadways to make them more walk and bike friendly, there is an economic benefit. There was a project in Orlando on Edgewater Drive, which was a state road. It was a 4-lane road. It was converted to a 3-lane road with one center turn lane. And as a result of that, not only did we see an increase in bicycling and walking, but there were 77 new businesses that opened in the 10 years after that project was complete. So they have a real potential of having a great impact. This is just highlighting the concept planning. Drew Street, North Fort Harrison to US 19. It's about 4 miles. We provided $50,000. There's a local match, and they're using that as a basis for looking at complete streets citywide. And then for the Lellman area, 54th Avenue North, it's a lower income area. It's a blow-through part of the community because there's an access to I-275. But this is a targeted redevelopment area, and we think this can be a help in bringing in some additional local businesses to support that community. And then this is the construction project that we funded down in the Skyway Marina District on 34th Street. But I wanted to let you know that anytime we transform a roadway, and you all have done it here to a certain extent, you're going to get some pushback in the community from people who don't like the changes or are uncomfortable with the changes. And right now we're going through that issue. You may have seen it in the news on West Bay Drive. We're trying to develop a project ahead of a resurfacing job that the county is already doing to look at better way to link the Pinellas Trail with the Bel Air Causeway Bridge. And I just bring this to your attention because what we're asking the county to do is take those 12-foot travel lanes, and there are 4 lanes, and we're going to keep 4 lanes out there, but if we can narrow 2 of them to 11 feet on the outside and then on the 10 feet on the inside, and then continue with an 11-foot center lane, it frees up enough room for a bike lane. And there's already a bike lane on West Bay Drive going over the bridge, and then we have the trail to the east. It would have that continuous bike facility. And that's basically a no-cost option because they're going to go out and resurface and restrike the roadway anyway. It's gotten enormous pushback from the city of Bel Air Bluffs and Largo after they wrote letters of support. So I think they're maybe rethinking that a little bit. The other alternative that we prefer is actually a wide side path, of 12-foot wide side path. But that entails moving the curb, and so it's a little more expensive option, but we're hoping the county would choose that option as well. We're not the designers of the project, the county will, but we went in and looked at the options and have presented those to the county for consideration. So we'll be making some decisions in the coming months, but I just ask all of our cities, we don't have a specific project like this for you right now, but keep an open mind when we bring projects like this to you, because not only is there an economic benefit of connecting our communities better, but there is a real safety benefit. And if we can make room for people who are already out there today walking and bicycling, we'll also attract more users who might think about it but are discouraged because 580 is too high a speed or Philippi Parkway is too fast of a road. And I think you'll see more people out there using these facilities when we make room for them intentionally. So I like to think that we can change behavior by changing design, and we don't want to do this everywhere. It's not appropriate on certain parts of US 19 or 580, but in many parts of the community, this is a very good treatment. So as I look ahead to 2018, we've got some big things happening in the next year. First, we are wrapping up a couple of our initiatives. One is enhancing beach community access. We're developing recommendations for State Road 60, connecting to the beach community, and that will be presented to our board next week, or later, next week. Funding program for the water taxi program. Last year, we had $1 million appropriation that was vetoed at the last minute by the governor. We've tried again. We've been requested by the legislature to submit, so we hope to have projects that would be used by local governments for capital funding. We're also kicking off in January the Gateway Area Master Plan. It's a $1 million effort to look at a land use transportation strategy for the Gateway area. And we asked all 4 local governments to contribute $100,000 each and asked DOT to match that. DOT has been a great partner this year. Not only did they match that, but they exceeded that match and are contributing about $800,000 to that effort. We are starting the long-range transportation plan that we have to update every 5 years. This is a new long-range transportation plan that we'll adopt in 2019, and we're doing it in partnership with PSTA to have one plan for the whole county for transportation. And the county is also doing an assessment of county-maintained roadways for a bicycle, pedestrian, and complete streets network, and that'll be integrated into this plan. So I'm really tired of having to refer to PSTA's plan over here, the county's plan over there. We're going to try and bring all that together with one plan, and I think that's a step forward in the right direction. And at the regional level, think of having a 3-ring binder where the first 50 pages are the regional plan for Pinellas, Pasco, and Hillsborough, and the next 50 pages are the plan for Pinellas County or Hillsborough or Pasco, and they insert those pages. That's never been done here. So we are hearing what the legislature and the Tampa Bay Partnership are saying, which is the business community wants one plan for Tampa Bay, and we're going to do our best to put together one plan for transportation for at least the 3 core county areas. And then the new TBARTA, the Tampa Bay Area Regional Transit Authority, will be taking on more of a leadership role in advancing transit in the region. And I think together those two need to work hand in hand, because if you want state and federal dollars coming back to your region, you need to speak with one voice, and that's what we intend to do. And the last little point to that is, you may remember when I came here last year that we were kicking off a study to look at best practices of having one regional MPO, a Metropolitan Planning Organization for Tampa Bay. And we're kind of unique because we have 3 for one urbanized area, 1 in each county. And we have initiated a best practices study at our request. It's being managed by TBARTA, funded by DOT. That study will take the better part of 2018 to develop some recommendations. And come the end of 2018, we will have some recommendations about how to go forward either with one MPO, that'll be probably one recommendation, or how to strengthen the existing process we have now. So I just ask you to stay tuned. We're working on it. I encourage you to ask me any questions and stay involved in that effort, and I'll be happy to come back to you later in the year and let you know how that study is advancing. There is a bill that has been filed in the legislature that would remove the 25-member limit on an MPO for MPOs that choose to merge, because that's been one constraint, because we have so many local governments in Pinellas relative to Hillsborough and Pasco that we might lose seats on our board. And this bill that's out there would remove that obstacle and allow us to have a seat for, say, the Planning Council and other planning bodies like that. So I think that's a step in the right direction. If that's a barrier, then why have that artificial barrier? So that's my report today. I'm happy to be here and answer any questions that I can.
I have some, Mayor, after you, whatever you want to say.
No, that's fine, go ahead. I have some comments, but.
How many times have you heard that? Step in the right direction?
I don't know. I'm not sure what you're asking.
How many times have you said it?
I say it all the time because I think it's important in transportation that you take small steps to get to your objective.
Let me tell you something. I was chairman of the Pinellas Planning Council when it was in full bloom, and we had a lot of directions going. That was in the 90s. Mm-hmm. Now we're going to have another study, right?
Which study you're referring to?
Doesn't matter.
We do studies all the time.
No. How much money do we? You don't know how much money we spend on study. We've spent millions of dollars on study. I hope you have success. I really do. But we have spent millions and millions of dollars on studies, and it goes nowhere. And the MPO, I hope you don't retire. And the MPO, the 3 MPOs are still going. You really think they're going to merge?
I think there's a good chance they will.
How many times have I heard that? I've heard that dozens and dozens for the last 20 years.
There's been a lot of resistance to that.
Okay.
I think that resistance is breaking down.
I've heard that too. Okay, you say you have one plan that you're working on. Mm-hmm. When's that going to finalize?
That'll be November of 2019. We have to adopt it by that date.
Okay. I hope you get that one plan done. Now I want to ask you another question. The city of Oldsmar, because we don't get any money from anybody, we cooperated. In fact, I was chairman when we cooperated. Now you're going to build the trail around Lake Tarpon on East Lake Road. Mm-hmm. When was that built?
I'd say about 5 years ago, something like that.
5 years ago? How about 15 years ago?
Okay.
Okay.
Before I got here.
We cooperated with them. Now you're destroying our Curlew connection. Now you're going down to 580 connection. Now Now, how do you expect to get from 580 when you finally get the trail to 580, if you ever do, and I hope you do, on East Lake Road or McMullen Booth Road? Now you're going to bring it down to 580. What happened to Curlew Road? We built trails from Curlew Road because you people told us you was going to connect to it.
Well, that is the plan. We have construction funding, so it will get built.
Construction for what?
Funding.
For what?
For the connection from the park, John Chestnut Park to Enterprise Road.
See, I don't care about Enterprise Road. I'm talking about Curlew. Enterprise Road does not come to the city of Oldsmar.
No, but that's the segment that will be completed.
So
that'll include the connection to 580 or Curlew Road, and that decision hasn't been made.
This is the first time I've heard about a connection to 580.
That decision hasn't been made. They're in the very beginning process of the design.
Well, what happened to Curlew Road?
And they're looking at design options that would consider Curlew Road.
Yeah, and I think that's what you were talking about, the Oldsmar Sports Complex.
Yeah,
that was one of the considerations that somebody presented.
And we've asked the county to incorporate that into their design considerations, and they're going to bring back that information.
When is that?
That'll be in the next 3 or 4 months.
I'm sorry, Mayor. I get excited about your designs. I've been hearing about designs for 25, 30 years. It never happens.
Well, we secured the funding last year. So we've got a project that's going to be built and constructed in your lifetime.
When is Curlew Road going to be connected to the trails on East Lake Road?
I think it'll be connected within about a year and a half. That's the schedule for completing that construction project. I'll go on the record.
It's in the minutes.
You heard him. You heard him. It's down there in that.
The design, just be clear, the design is not set.
I don't care about the design. I care when you're going to connect to it.
That's the project to connect.
And when's that going to happen?
Within about a year and a half to 2 years. Yes,
18 months.
Yeah, 18 months.
Mayor, invite him back.
Money has got to be spent by a time certain.
But invite him back.
And I'm going to challenge you a little bit on that. You did get funding for your trail network through our program. So part of your trail network was funded through our Transportation Alternatives program.
How much? How much of it?
I can't answer that question right now, but a portion of it was.
And don't get him too riled up because we're coming back to him for number 11 for funding for.
We want you to keep coming for funding. That's right.
Oh, no. We need to put them on notice that when they say something, we want to believe them.
I want you to believe me. I want to deliver for you. I really do.
I'll be on council next year. I may not be on council after that, but I'll be on council next year when you come here.
All right.
In all fairness, Jerry's right, and I think you know that there's been some bad experiences, and I'll default to Eric. He was on the PPC. You were on the MPO or PPC? PPC. I'm on Forward Pinellas right now actively, and I'll tell you, since WIT has gotten there, and not just WIT alone, but I mean, the argument has been, and I've done engineering for 35 years, and the argument has always been that we don't get along. You know, Hart and PSTA have fought. I think in front of everybody, they act like they get along. I don't know that they do. I'm sure you've experienced the same thing, but
On PSTA.
I'll say, yeah, and you're on PSTA, but I will say, although it may not be evident right now, this is probably the closest we have worked together with the other MPOs. And I can tell you, when we've gone to Tallahassee for legislative groups, that they tell us, we don't know what the hell you people want down there. And not just Pinellas County, but you've got, everybody puts their oars in the water and everybody's going in a different direction. And I think it's a slow process, but you're right, Whit, to the new secretary at the DOT has just been a joy to work with, and his staff. He wants to know how he can help instead of how they can be resistant.
Right.
So
from that standpoint, it may be baby steps, but it is steps.
And I know it's a step in the right direction, but seriously, it was a big step when within the county, we have the other MPOs outside the county, but even within the county, between the MPO and the PPC, at least we made that step first, got that, and you had to do that before you could make any progress on the other end. So that's a big step. People don't realize unless you've been involved.
And I don't want to gloss over how easy it's going to be, because to your point, Pasco County, if we were to look at a regional MPO, they're insisting they have the same number of votes that Hillsborough and Pinellas has, and that could be a deal killer right there.
Pasco County has been a big barrier.
So we're going to have to work that out and see how we can do that. I can't promise that we're going to merge the MPOs And I don't know that that is the best answer. It's certainly not going to generate any more money for us.
The best answer for streets and connecting us with.
But it might get us committed to one or two key projects and have us stay committed to one of the two key projects.
The county is not ever going to agree to anything that Pinellas County wants to do in Pinellas County. They're not going to do it.
Well,
now the other county might. The other MPO might.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I think collectively it's the only way, well, not the only way, but, and Whit knows better than
Actually,
I do,
you're
to
right.
get funding.
It is the only way.
It's the only way we're going to be able to compete against
funding.
people in the rest of the state, Miami-Dade.
Other regions, that's right.
Any other region, if we can't, and you know, that's out of our powers to some extent.
Just other regions, but other regions out of state.
Out of state.
Yeah. I mean, I think you got to take a regional perspective with transportation. But in our case, you know, we've got to have that dual approach too. So we can't ignore the needs of the cities and that focus that's countywide. So it's a dual approach. And I think we can get there, but it's creating that structure to do that.
We want to cooperate with you, and I'll find out if we are the next time you come up here next year.
Okay.
I just have one question.
Yep.
Is there still grant funding available in the Complete Streets program? I said due December 15th, but.
There is. This is our second year of that program, and the applications are open until December 15th. We expect to have another round next year. That's subject to our next budget. But yeah, we expect to continue that program because, at least so far, it's been really well received by our local government.
Thank you.
Dan, Eric, anything else?
No.
Sounds good. I mean,
No, he's on those.
That was on the agenda in a few minutes.
yeah, if you want to hang out for number 11, you can hear all about that one. So other than that, Whit has done a great job, and I think even the PSTA, I think we're all finally communicating a lot better together. And Commissioner Eggers will always say, I think part of our problem is the messaging that has been. I think we've had so many choir directors that, you know, we're not reading from the same sheet music, you know, or anything. And I think that's finally coming together slowly but surely, and it needs to, or we're going to get left in the dust. So
None of this will ever happen until the three counties get together. And
Even
agree-
two.
and
Even two.
Yeah, Hillsborough and Pinellas. I'm not sure I'm not sure I think Hillsborough is the bad guy now.
yeah, I would say I was on the board of the PSTA, and you know, I think PSTA was more willing to merge than Hart was, for sure, for a lot of reasons. Sometimes they don't like to give up the control of the purse, but their purse has been in financial
They're in trouble.
For quite some time. They just lost their executive director. So at any rate, so hopefully we'll get something straightened out, and we have number 11, and then I look forward to meeting you tomorrow to hear about next week's meeting. So if there's no other questions.
Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
But next item is me. Now, if I read the agenda right. The Oldsmar Business of the Quarter for December 2017. Okay. If I could get Leroy, and if you want to bring your cohort up.
Love to.
Holly? I'm very proud to honor perhaps the longest serving business in Oldsmar. This is a business whose presence is experienced every hour of every day of every Oldsmar citizen and business owner. An interruption of their service, by the way, they're from Tito, an interruption of their services is immediately marked with calls, questions, and anxiety. What business has such a unique and important mission? Tampa Electric Company. Their company history and history with Oldsmar is interesting and significant. Tampa Electric began in 1899 with 28 employees serving 1,200 customers. They began serving Oldsmar in 1926. That's over 91 years of service. And I think Councilmember Beaverland's Lemonade Stand may be the only other competitor for longest service.
Are you happy now?
Huh?
Are you happy now?
Yeah.
Wait for it. There it is.
Well,
When you think about it, and the change in technology, producing and distributing power, and responding to every increasing demand as electric power is essential to almost everything we do. Today, the company has more than 2,020 employees serving about 750,000 customers. But change is a constant of progress. In July of 2016, Amera, is that right? Am I saying that? Amera completed the acquisition of Tico. Amera is a geographically diverse company headquartered in Halifax, Nova Scotia, with more than 7,400 employees. They have a strategic focus on transformation from high carbon to low carbon energy sources. TECO and Emera are expanding the use of solar power. During the next 4 years, this is exciting. Tampa Electric will add 6 million solar panels and 10 new photovoltaic solar projects. In total, Tampa Electric will install 600 megawatts of photovoltaic solar energy to its fleet, which enough electricity to power more than 100,000 homes. When complete, nearly 7% of Tampa Electric's energy generation will come from the sun, a higher percentage of solar than any other Florida utility. As mentioned, we often take this service for granted, as it's always there with the flick of a switch. This summer, our area was impacted by Hurricane Irma, one of the largest storms to form in the Atlantic, yet TECO safely restored power to 425,000 customers in just 7 days. This required help from 4,000 line, tree, and other personnel from as far away as Oklahoma, Maine, and Nova Scotia, Canada. We'll work around the clock in 16-hour shifts to restore power. However, it is always the people behind the scenes that are responsible for the most important part of the mission, and that is service. TECO is proud to be a part of the communities they energize, since this is where they all also live and operate. TECO strives to help build strong communities that shape and sustain our business culture. This is accomplished through their community relations department, has employees dedicated to areas across our service territory. Their service reps work closely with city planners and also with our business in close partnership with the Upper Tampa Bay Chamber of Commerce. Like the electricity they provided, the service representatives seem to there for us any hour of the day if any issue arises. So it is my honor and privilege to recognize TECO Emera as our December 2017 Business of the Quarter, and Leroy Sullivan Jr., our rep for the last 6 years, and Holly as the incoming. Not only is this our final award of 2017, but this also marks the retirement of Leroy and the assignment of Holly Miller as our new service representative. Thank you for your outstanding service to our community, and welcome, Holly. We're at 91 years of service and counting. We look forward to an exciting future with such a great partner. Let me add a couple of words about Mr. Sullivan's distinguished career, which began as an airman in the United States Air Force. Upon discharge and completion of his college studies, he was recruited in 1969 by Texas Electric Service Company, now Encore, where Mr. Sullivan worked for 23 years before retiring and moving to Tampa. But TECO Peoples Gas had other ideas, employing him as a methods analyst and later as a division leader of the TECO St. Petersburg Division Office and Community Relations team. Most recently, he has served as a regional manager, local government, community relations, and economic development in Pinellas, Collier, Lee, Manatee, and Sarasota counties. He has faithfully represented TECO for 22 years, the last 6 of which we have had the benefit of his services in Oldsmar. He has a passion for helping children and the underprivileged, as well as providing organizations with insight, advice, and guidance. Mr. Sullivan has been an invaluable asset to our city and our chamber. He will be greatly missed. Thank you, Leroy, for all you've done, for all your services. Not to scare you, Holly, but you have some big shoes to fill. But with 91 years of success with TECO and your background in Tallahassee, we know you will do a great job, and welcome to Oldsmar. We got to do that again. I was supposed to hold the microphone.
I probably don't need a microphone, just like you do there. I just want to say to all of the council members and to the staff of the city of Oldsmar that it's been a real pleasure. It really has. You know, we've had challenges, but we've figured out ways to overcome them, and the staff has been nothing but unbelievably helpful to me personally in working things out between our company and the city of Oldsmar. And so thank you all so much, and thanks for this wonderful recognition of the company and my time here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to think about you all a lot in retirement.
T-minus how many days?
T-minus 17 days.
But who's counting, right? Oh, yeah.
Center.
Center.
Center, yeah. You have to get the seal behind us.
Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Couple of stories. Don't leave Leroy yet. One thing, he won't get any more phone calls from me.
17 days left.
I'm going to be real lonely for a while, Jerry.
Eagle came to the city of Oldsmar in 1926. We had our own light company here, and we serviced Safety Harbor. And I gave one of the 1926 newspapers to the Historical Society, where Safety Harbor said, "Your paper is late again because the power company in Oldsmar went down again, and we couldn't print anything." So Tico came in and took us over. You also went to Safety Harbor, and about, I don't know, 4 or 5 months later, then what's that other power company?
Progress Energy?
Progress at the time, probably, right?
Well, I mean, it used to be
Florida Power.
Who?
Florida Power.
Florida Power. They came in and outbid you and kicked you out of Safety Harbor, but Oldsmar kept you. This is a story about Tico and Jerry Beaverland. Remember when we had the freeze? We had, it was 16 degrees above zero, and then the next day it was 70. How many people remember that? You don't tell me you don't remember that. 1989? Yeah.
Oh, I definitely don't remember that.
It was 16 degrees above freezing, and then the next day it was like 17 degrees above freezing, and the third day it was like 17 degrees above freezing, and finally the fourth day the sun finally came out. Now, what happens when it does that? My front yard was nothing but icicles. I mean, nothing. I have pictures of it. It was icicles on everything. I had a stuffed bear out in the front yard among all my trees, and icicles were dripping down from the stuffed bear. So Tico got on the job, right? Because all the lines were down because the lines weren't used to freezing up and having icicles on them. So I waited 2 days. Everybody else was getting warm again. This is in the middle of the winter. I waited 5 days, and we're freezing in my house. I waited 6 days. I finally called the radio station because they were talking about the freeze and all, and man, I went ballistic because I'm still freezing after 7 days. Tico said, well, we've got everybody back online. And I called him, I said, I won't say exactly what I said. I said, but I'm freezing in my house. You can't be freezing. I said, I'm freezing in my house. That was on Shore Drive. So they come out to shut me up. My transformer was put in 1956, and it served only 2 people, me and my neighbor, and it never showed up on anything.
Was Ken the rep back then? Ken Lippincott?
Yeah, no. He was a great guy, though. He really. Tico has had some incredible people that service the city of Oldsmar. No, it was before him.
Got it.
Anyway, something else y'all need to know. You know where Oldsmar Cares is now? Where they're building their new building? That used to be the Tico building.
Yep.
Yep.
And we persuaded Tico to give us that building and all that land. So now you're servicing other people that need food and clothes.
Yep.
Because the city of Oldsmar gave it to them. Anyway, if you had been there, you could have got a phone call every 35 minutes. I'm freezing. They replaced the transformer. They didn't even know the transformer was there. Thank you, Leroy.
Thank you for the story.
Welcome, Holly.
Thank you.
I'm finished.
Okay, I always like to check. I always give you the look over to see. City Attorney.
Nothing tonight.
Nothing. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 11 is adopt resolution 2017-21, supporting a complete street project for St. Petersburg Drive to be submitted to Forward Pinellas for funding consideration with a touch of irony from Item number 9. Adopt Resolution 2017-21 supporting a complete street project for St. Petersburg Drive to be submitted to Forward Pinellas for grant funding consideration. The program is called Forward Pinellas Complete Streets Project. Mr. Blanton focused on a few slides from his presentation that covered it. The application deadline is December 15th of this year. Passage of the resolution is one of the conditions required as part of the application process. Some of the information, as I said, is covered by Mr. Blanton. Our multimodal consultants, Kimley Horn, feel we have a strong case for positive consideration, which could yield either $100,000 for a concept development plan for the upcoming St. Petersburg Drive improvements, or even possibly $1 million down the road as a construction grant from the program. We have negotiated a work order for quick completion of the application with our consultants, Kimley Horn, in order to meet the submittal deadline. If council has any questions, I'll ask our Planning and Redevelopment Director, Marie Dauphiné, to be available to answer them. Staff recommends approval, and I will read the resolution by title only. Resolution 2017-21, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, expressing its support for a complete street project for St. Petersburg Drive to be submitted to Forward Pinellas for funding consideration within the Forward Pinellas Complete Streets program and providing for an effective date. Mayor, that's the reading of Resolution 2017-21.
Do I have a motion for discussion?
So moved.
Second? Motion and a second. Any discussion on this item?
I just had, so the reason I brought that up earlier, and I mentioned it to Al, and as they're doing the application, the only thing I wanted to request was if they could include like the light up crosswalks when we redo that street
the
for
flashing.
St. Pete Drive, because people go so fast on that street, and especially if we're going to eventually connect downtown to the waterfront. I mean, I walk it personally myself all the time, and, you know, I'm always looking, but I see people on Bayview as well.
Yep.
You know, when we do like the walk to school or any of those things, we need to have good lighted crosswalks.
Those are becoming more and more standard, I think, so I don't
So
think
that was the only thing that I just wanted to make sure that.
Good point.
Yeah. Is that part of our application, or have we gotten that far?
That'll be part of the design.
Okay.
Something everybody needs to know, Mayor, is that the city of Oldsmar doesn't really have a good lighting system to light our streets, but you can order a street light. I pay for 2 street lights. At one time I paid for 3 street lights. The street lights on my house, I pay for.
I will say.
They really still out there, see if we can get a street light out of them.
That we do, our streets are pretty dark, especially downtown here.
Yeah.
On the side streets at
They get
night
dark,
too.
yeah.
But
Okay.
that's all I had.
Thanks. Any other questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor? Aye. 5-0.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 12, request council to award janitorial services contract bid 2018-001-RFP to United States Services Industry. The RFP process was completed on Friday, October 20th, 2017, and 8 submittals were received. 1 response was rejected for noncompliance with the terms of the RFP, and the remaining 7 were ranked on 5 different criteria for total scores, the highest possible being 100. The evaluation committee was made up of the Administrative Services Director, Leisure Services Director, the Parks Operation and Facilities Supervisors, and among the 7 responsive submittals, USSI received the highest point total, which is 381, of the 7 submittals. The scoring summary is in your packet, as is the contract for services that we will be offering to the winning vendor. The city attorney has reviewed the contract. The original term of the contract is for 1 year, but may be extended for 5 additional years under certain circumstances. Staff recommends awarding the contract to United States Services Industries, Inc., USSI, for citywide janitorial services in the amount of $6,140.46 per month, plus additional services, which are for services related to 7-day-per-week parks restroom service in the amount of $2,113.80 per month, effective upon contract execution. Both amounts are within budgetary constraints established for 2017-18 in the Facilities Division budget. I am available to answer any questions.
Motion?
So moved.
Second? Second. Any discussion on this item? And in general, and I might not have it exactly correctly, but I think we took over as the facilities department these services back when the economy went pear-shaped, and rather than lay people off, we moved them to do that. I think that was a stellar move at the time. We'll see how this works out with the janitorial services. You know, I think we've all in our various lifestyles have had different janitorials if we were in the corporate world, and sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. But I think this will allow us to get our facilities people out there doing what, needs to be done, which is taking care of our facilities and keeping them up to.
Many more important things.
Yeah, we need to take care of our buildings, so we got some talented people on staff, so.
Well, we lost one person. He was ready to retire anyway. But when we took it over, it was never good for our outside, all the toilets all over town. And we put one person into that, doing that, which I had talked to the city manager before, that should never have done it. And we lost him because of that anyway. I'm glad you're doing this.
Good. We'll see how it goes. Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 13 is request council approval to approve the special event fee waiver request for the Holiday Sharing Fund's Bike Safety Rodeo to be held on February 17th, year 2018. This is a fee waiver request for a bike safety rodeo presented by the Holiday Sharing Fund to be held at the Pine Avenue North cul-de-sac on Saturday, February 17th, 2018. Each year, the Holiday Sharing Fund provides bikes, helmets, and locks for underserved children in the community during the holidays. Since inception, this organization has provided over 400 bikes to kids in the community. This bike safety rodeo is a natural follow-up to those donations, represents a secondary goal for the organization. The rodeos are held twice per year and include bike registration with the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, inspections, helmets, obstacle courses for training, and of course, pizza and drinks. The fee waiver request for this event is $374.50. Staff recommends approval. I'm available to answer any questions in addition to our city clerk, who is always involved, or perhaps our leisure services director, who's also involved.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion and a second. I just have a quick clarification. I saw the text come from Deputy Sierra, who's part of the board of directors of the Holiday Sharing, as am I. I think he gave us a different date. Is this the right date?
It was mixed up. It's February 7th.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, so. Okay, motion and a second. Any other discussion? It's a great event. We get a pretty good turnout. You get to interact with the kids and walk them along as they're going through the cones and running them over, and you get to play the part of a cutout cardboard car and pull out into traffic. So
We used to have it in this parking lot.
we're moving it up there just to get it up near the
Westminster.
yes, at Westminster, so
Oh,
where the
okay.
kids and all
Okay.
that are. So thought we'd take it up there for a change on the north side of Tampa Road. So motion and a second. No other discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 14 is request council approval to approve a special event fee waiver request for Oldsmar Days and Nights, which is hosted by the Upper Tampa Bay Chamber of Commerce. This is an annual event started in 1962 to celebrate the city and its history. The fee waiver request for this event is $3,000. Staff recommends approval. I'm available to answer any questions, as is our Leisure Services Director, Felicia Donnelly.
I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this? This is pretty standard. I think we've done, I don't know how many years we've done this, but fairly standard. If nobody has any questions, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
We've only had one for the mayor canceled it.
Oh, yeah. Parade. I didn't cancel the whole event. I just canceled the parade with 1 minute to go.
Who was that mayor that canceled it?
I think, Tom? I don't know. I don't think we have a record of that. I think those records were destroyed.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 15 is a reconsideration of the 2018 Union Cyclist International, or UCI, BMX World Cup agreement for the provision of a BMX World Cup event to be held in Oldsmar on September 15th and 16th, year 2018. As you know, at the November 21st, 2017 council meeting, City Council voted against the original UCI agreement for the aforementioned event, 5-0. 3 council members requested that I place the item back on this agenda for reconsideration. In your packet, additional information on UCI's financial commitment towards the event, skin in the game, for lack of a better term, is provided. Additionally, UCI has agreed to absorb more of the cost than had been originally presented. Our Leisure Services Director, Felicia Donnelly, can provide some additional information to the council regarding UCI's role in the event and the city's expenses, which have been reduced. Pursuant to City of Oldsmar Council Rules of Procedure and Robert's Rules of Order, Item 7, motions to reconsider. Item B explains the process of how this is to be procedurally handled. I've asked the city attorney to explain how that process is to work. UCI will require an answer before Christmas, so if the council agrees to reconsider the contract approval, as the city attorney explains, a special meeting will be required. Tom?
Yeah, under this rule, the motion to reconsider, there's a couple of different situations that could occur. If the motion to reconsider is made at the same council meeting, it happens one way. If it's done at a subsequent council meeting, and that's what we're talking about today, the motion to reconsider has to be made by a member of the council who was on the prevailing side. Obviously, everyone was on the prevailing side because it was a 5-0 vote. The motion to reconsider requires a second to be considered. And if there is a majority vote on that motion, it will allow council to reconsider the original motion at their next council meeting. And that's for the purpose of giving notice to the public. So tonight, if the motion to reconsider is made and it is approved, then we'll need to set some type of special meeting before December 25th for it to be reconsidered. So I'd be happy to answer any other comments if you have any or
How
questions.
much notice is required?
Reasonable notice. So I would say, 48 to 72 hours at a minimum. The more notice that we can give, the better. And I think that the city manager's got some dates tonight if you want to do that. I didn't confirm that.
One of them, our council meeting that we canceled, is that?
That's what I was thinking, but I wasn't sure, is that acceptable if they decide to do it on what was the previous
Absolutely.
second meeting date? Yeah. So that would be the 19th, I believe.
Any questions of Tom?
No.
Have your feelings changed? I don't think anything has changed from a liability perspective, and we're still liable for our portion of it as well as theirs. Is that correct?
Yeah, nothing has changed in the contract. They're not suggesting they make any changes. You're just getting information relative to, what their in-kind and value is, or what they're telling you their in-kind value is, so that you know what that is. But the contract hasn't changed.
What about the reduction in cost to the city that Al mentioned?
Can we get a?
Yeah, you want a motion for the purpose of
Yeah, motion for the purpose of discussion?
I would move that we place this at a future meeting to reconsider.
I'll second that motion.
For the purpose of discussion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, can I ask Tom a question? I didn't know we could ask questions like this, but is it a possibility that the city, we do it other ways, I don't know how far we can go, that we can get an insurance, another type of insurance to help cover us?
It's my understanding that there is a possibility of getting insurance to cover the liability aspect of this. It would be a premium that would have to be paid by the city. I don't know what that cost is, but the answer is.
But we could get insurance.
And that would be not only to cover us, but to cover their liability as well, which I'm not in agreement necessarily with covering their liability.
As I understand it, and maybe I'm wrong, I thought that was actually part of the agreement, that there was a requirement to get insurance.
There is a requirement. I don't have the contract in front of me, so I mean, do you have it with you, Felicia? We can take a look at it. But the contract specifically provided that the city was going to be responsible for the liability of UCI.
Right.
At our expense.
At your expense.
Do we have any idea what that cost is?
No, I don't. Maybe Felicia has that information.
Could we call Felicia to just talk about the cost of reduction?
Can you give us kind of a general idea of what the result is of the cost reduction? I believe they've cut back on some of maybe the travel that they were going to do, or
they did. So the budget reductions have a net impact of about $50,000. So it's before the investment with the city would be about 125. Was estimated. Now it's about 75, and that included some reductions across the board in line items that are listed in their guide that they were willing to negotiate the actual execution items. So those range from reducing even the amount of portable toilets that they required in their organization guide was that they wanted toilets for 3,000 people. Well, at Gator Nationals, it's about the same crowd. So the difference between the toilets of what we pay for Gator Nationals and what they wanted in their contract was about 10 grand. So they agreed that Gator Nationals, our capacity was fine. They agreed to reduce, to use our moto boards they don't meet their specs, so they said they were okay, so that was a reduction. Their competition guide, they agreed just that that would be a web-based template. They provide the template, so then that became a zero cost. They agreed that they didn't need their own transportation, that we could shuttle them from the hotel or either through hotel transportation or city vans, that they didn't need their own dedicated transportation, so that was a cost. They said they would absorb all costs associated with the site visit. So that cost went away. And there were some other things just kind of got reduced. The other thing is that the entry fees for the revenue was clarified in the guide. It didn't say per person. So traditionally it's been 250 euros and they do it by team, but they said it's per person, not per team. So then that gave us a big revenue bump. So anyway, it came out to an estimated net of about 75 grand. So I figure about 50. I'm still working on all the details.
And what was your estimate on sponsorship?
And that left the sponsorship estimate at 80,000, which is what we had before, which is the verbal commitment from Visit St. Pete, Clearwater, and TIA.
So estimate 75,000 plus whatever insurance costs us.
Right, now the insurance cost, I got a verbal from the insurance for USA BMX. They provided the insurance for the World Championship at Rock Hill and the World Cup at Sarasota. They told me it would be about $1,500 through them, but the insurance that they provided me the copy of doesn't meet the contract specs from UCI, so I sent that to them today to say, hey, is this acceptable? Because this isn't it doesn't exactly line up, and it had to do with, in the contract, they require that we carry a 5 million Swiss francs per occurrence, and the insurance that they provided for the other two sites was 5 million aggregate. So I wanted to make sure that that was acceptable to them so we could get a proper cost on that.
Okay.
And that's part of the budget already, correct?
The $1,500 is not any additional insurance. So if we decided that we needed additional insurance through a separate policy of some sort, that's not included, just what they've required as their contract specs.
We are shopping that now for event cancellation due to weather, to recoup the cost that we would have invested in the event.
Yeah.
So we don't have the pricing yet, but we're shopping it.
Got it.
I think that's imperative that you have lost revenue prevention coverage. So I have quite a few questions, and I also have some general observations. I'm sure that we all were contacted by Bruce, sharing his thoughts and concerns. I've made some subsequent calls, and I can get into those now. I do have a couple of questions of not only Felicia, but Ann and Dean about the amount of staffing requirements that's going to be required by the city of Oldsmar to be able to undertake this. This is a fairly significant staffing thing, and I asked that question because we have some council priorities that could get pushed to the back burner or slid back in order to accommodate that, both from a Parks and Rec and Travel Department and a city clerk's office, and so we're going to be potentially, and if you can address from your department what might be involved with that.
Certainly, this is a large international event, so that's going to take, a large amount of staff time to execute it, really from a lot of different departments. So it's not just a leisure service impact, it's a purchasing impact, and it's a IT impact, and it's a communications impact, and I'm sure I've forgotten some others. But in general, you get it that it takes a city team to put something on like this. And this event, we're working with Visit St. Pete with our partners too. So every time you have partners involved, it takes longer too, but they're also putting in time and effort.
And this requires a lot more, and I don't know all of it, but I typically spend almost the whole weekend at the Gator Nationals, but this requires a lot more of our time to be able to accommodate their needs, as I'm understanding it, correct?
It's just a larger event, so the infrastructure is larger. So, things like the international media components, which is a large one, well, that takes different infrastructure. So we have to make sure that we have the high-speed dedicated internet, and we have to have enhanced electrical. So, Gator Nationals kind of were turnkey. We don't have to provide that kind of the infrastructure services, but that would be similar to any international event.
Okay. I guess while it's okay with the council, Ann, if you could maybe input on what, from a production standpoint, lots of graphics and banners and programs and things like that, as I understand it, that have to be produced.
Well, yeah, communications and marketing anticipate a much heavier workload, which would be expected with an event of this size, and what impact that may have exactly, we don't really know because there's some unknowns until we get into it. But
and I have a question, Doug. Is this something? And I don't know if it's possible, but like the Centennial was such a large event. Is this something that we should try to establish a committee to help with, say, sponsorships and things of that nature? Is that possible?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if it gets to that point, all hands on deck is kind of the way I look at it to pull it off. But yeah, I don't know that we have enough time because they've got to approve, they've got to approve all of our sponsors and things like that and have the right to reimburse us and cancel them or something like to that effect?
They do. So yes, I think it's possible to have a volunteer committee, kind of all hands on deck, as the mayor just said. And then, but yes, of course, working with an international organization, there's a lot of approval processes through the way. So things require like a 60-day lead where we normally wouldn't have that if it was just us putting on an event, right? So you need extra. You just build in the extra time, but really it is consistent with any big event that has a big partner.
And the upgraded electrical and things you were talking about before, is that built into the cost of the?
I did build some of that into the cost, so I built in the budget $25,000 for the electrical. We're still working. There was some questions in the organization guide that whether or not things have to be separately fused and what that means from an international perspective to a local perspective. So we're going through that piece by piece to see exactly what the costs are. We've had it cost out at about 23, so I put 25 in the budget just to kind of be safe.
And is there value to that after the fact, having that configured for out there? Is it like a permanent infrastructure thing that we would put in there?
It depends on what option. So the option that was priced out was to drop another temporary power pole. So that may not. I don't really know.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. I got just Dean, if you could on your side, because I know in Gator National, Station 54 has kind of been the point persons, and then
Dean O'Neill, Fire and EMS Chief. Currently, I actually sent Felicia some questions after looking at the medical plan that they have. We're not able to support that plan because they specifically use physicians and nurses as part of their track team. I think that's just a difference of the two systems as far as the European medical system, and I think it's like we found with Gator Nationals, they don't realize we're the 6th largest EMS system now, Pinellas County in the country. So I think if we were able to talk to them and explain, it works better using the personnel that we have and the way the system's worked in the past, but I haven't had any conversations with them yet on that. The equipment requirements, the logistics required for a medical tent. One concern was they're wanting 24-hour medical personnel in addition to the teams that would be on the track and the physicians who would be on the track and the physicians and nurses who would be in the medical tent. So I think until we could get some answers from them on what are they willing to accept as far as the level of care for an ALS cruise on the track and in the tent, I really can't tell you if we're able to do this or not. Staffing-wise, it's not something, even with Gator Nationals, we usually work closely with Sunstar paramedics to help provide the transport as well as the staffing that goes in the tent for walk-ups and injuries like that.
I would, and I don't know if this is possible, but I know that organizations like D1 Sports Medicine and West Chase, they have a lot of orthopedic surgeons. A lot of times those surgeons also volunteer their time and go out to, say, like local high schools for football games and things like that, and they're on site on the field, you know, in case someone were to get injured. Could we potentially, one, pursue them as a sponsor, not only because they're a business as well, but they work with a lot of local athletes, even like a Tim Tebow that, you know, is like a partner in their organization, where we could also maybe ask for some volunteers for some of their, like, say, orthopedic doctors to also assist us on the sideline. You know, I don't know if that's...
And that is a possibility. My one concern with that is all of us we're technically work under the umbrella of the medical director for Pinellas County, so it'd be a coordination effort between, if that physician would allow those physicians to be available for that.
Okay.
And to that point, I guess this is a Tom question, whether they're okay with our Pinellas County organization or Gabby's mention of, you know, volunteers. I think ultimately that would come down to what our liability coverage apply to. They would have to allow the liability coverage to still be in place if they went with the Pinellas County run organization or volunteers. I mean, I would think that would...
I agree. I did speak with UCI specifically about the medical requirements, and we're different than a lot of host sites because most host sites don't have their own EMS system. So they're really waiting for us to propose a plan back. They said that they would be receptive to our solutions. I think that excellent to talk about getting a volunteer, whether that is through a private or through Tampa General or through Baycare.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions of them? We can call them back up if you want.
If you don't mind.
No, I'm fine.
Sure. You know, of course, I think Bruce spoke to everyone. He raised some specific concerns that I want to bring up that are worth discussing.
I agree.
And probably the biggest is the TDC. And as we all know that we have in our plan for Oldsmar Sports Complex, we do have plugged in there that additional funding is ultimately, we expect, will come from the Tourist Development Council, right? And so his concern was us backing away from this event after they've assisted would hurt us from a credibility standpoint, he felt. And so I know you serve on that council, Mayor. Mm-hmm. And so I, you know, maybe you can address it or...
And I can kind of, I don't know what conversations everybody had with Bruce. One of his questions was twofold. One was the relationship, this is the conversation he and I had. One was the relationship with TDC, and that he thought that that would affect, canceling this one-time event would have an effect on our relationship with TDC. I talked to Tim Ramsberger at length, and he said that in no uncertain terms was this going to affect our relationship with the TDC. He understands that it's a financial decision that the city has to make on taxpayer dollars. We talked a little bit about that, and I don't know what the background of Tim Ramsberger is. He was with Wild World of Sports over at Disney and then became ESPN, and they have kind of morphed into the philosophy of they're probably 80 to higher percentage of self-generated events or non-third-party events that they do that they can control, and they establish the international cheerleading competition, the international softball tournament, whatever it is. His plan is to have that happen in Pinellas County, and I think that's the direction that the TDC and Visit St. Petersburg is going, and because there's been big talk about that at our TDC meetings, which we're just an advisory council, but is to tap into that co-branding of some of these events. You know, tourism is one thing, but I think the sports tourism and the youth and the travel ball is a huge component of that, and he would like to see us do that. I'm going to paraphrase what he told me is that he would rather see, and this is again talking about a relationship, he would like to see monies put more towards longer relationships. Like I think we have a 17-year relationship with USA BMX, and you know, we're forming a relationship with SSA, which is a state sanctioning body. I think from a tourism standpoint, those people are probably more apt to come back and revisit. You know, if you're coming from an Ocala or a Jacksonville or somewhere else in the state and you have a good experience in Pinellas County, you're more apt to come back over a long weekend and do it again. Whereas I don't know that the UCI people would be coming back because they're doing this world touring all over. Having said that, in the background with the events and what he would foresee, I sit on the TDC, and I can tell you that this event, in my opinion only, but having sat there and gone through this capital funding project, this one-off event would actually have no bearing on our total ask. They're looking for longer heads and beds. They're looking for contracts of, and I don't know what ours is with USA BMX, but they're looking for longer term contracts that can continue to put heads in beds as opposed to a one-off event that, you know, some of the heads and beds we're actually funding, so we're kind of giving it back to ourselves. But that's what they're looking at. And whether it's a Chihuly Museum downtown, or it's, you know, the discussion was hot and heavy about the Toronto Blue Jays, and that they're looking for long-time contracts and, you know, continued growth in heads and beds. They're looking at, as we know, without saying too much, you know, we're revisiting and redoing our soccer fields. They're looking for relationships like that moving forward. So from that perspective, that's his input. That again, I don't think it would affect that. And if I could, just because it was another question and it falls along that lines, he thought it would affect our relationship with USA BMX. And I had a conversation with John David of USA BMX, who I've had the pleasure of working with those guys, and he indicated that this would not affect our relationship with them. The TDC indicated that they'd like to potentially, you know, and this is just his and my conversation, fund other events like the SSA or form events like they did at Disney, maybe build the Gator Nationals. I mentioned to him that I think that it should be called the Gator Internationals based on the number of people that have come here. So he doesn't feel that, John David does not think it's going to affect our relationships. And if I could, I'll just go one step further and then I'll give it back to you, Eric. One of the conversations that Bruce and I had was the fact that, you know, if we're committing to being an international, you know, sports destination, you know, kind of we need to act like it. And so Deb pulled some numbers for me, but just for frame of reference, in 2011, it was a Sports Commission signature event, 41 states, 15 countries. 2013, the first year of the USA BMX Gator Nationals, 43 states, 16 countries. 2015 was an Olympic qualifier. This is when we did the one at the end of the year and the following one at the beginning of the year. Over 500 participants, 24 countries, and 38 states. 2016 was the beginning of the next year, was 855 participants in 25 countries again. Again, that was a qualifying year. 2017 was not a qualifying year. We had almost 800 participants, 18 countries and 34 states represented. So, I mean, I still think we continue to get that. I went through and I looked at the USA BMX, I'm sorry, the UCI results from the past years. Without exception, almost every one of the gold, silver, and bronze riders have been here, if not their countries have been represented. Latvia has been here, Switzerland has been here, Australia has been here, you know, Sam Wallaby, you know, he's been here, Mariana Pajone. I think one of the biggest things that I enjoy telling people, I'm thinking about the value of this particular one event moving forward, and what it values to our tax base and our residents. And I think the value, whether it's the soccer thing but I enjoy so much going and telling the story of, you know, we've hosted the Gator Nationals here for 15 or 17 years, even before it was an Olympic event. And, you know, a couple of years ago, the two people that won the Gator National Championship, you know, title, men and women, Mariana Pajone and Connor Fields, subsequently went to Rio de Janeiro and won the Olympic gold medal. Yeah. And they came through Oldsmar. To me, that speaks volumes of an international event. I mean, I don't know how you don't call it. Tim Ramsberger thought that maybe we rebrand it as an international event and get that. But if you look down that list of participants in the UCI events, or I should say, you know, the gold medals between the countries and the participants themselves, let's just say we had 75% of them participating. Are we going to? And if they already come here, they'll be here for our Gator Nationals this year. Probably a new herd of people will be coming in. So I think that's what the TDC is looking for. And I can tell you that there's some tough cookies on that TDC. A lot of them, the hoteliers in the St. Pete Beach, they're looking for long-term relationships.
They want reoccurring.
They want reoccurring. And it doesn't matter if it's, I can't remember the time frame, but something is, Dean knows, what is it, 40-something year of the fire chiefs of the United States that meet over in Clearwater? It's lots of years. And is that safe to assume? But they're looking for a lot of these long-term relationship events that they keep coming back, and there are a lot of them that do that. I didn't mean to catch you off guard, but that was one of them that they brought up. But that's what they're looking for, and they're looking. They have several that are 30-year relationships.
I think we brought that up at the last meeting. What was it, Sarasota before or Rock Hill?
Well,
before?
I spoke to them.
Yeah,
I
why
called
they didn't have
Irma
it again.
Miller, who was Sarasota BMX, and they were the ones who hosted.
Yeah, and why
and they sourced part of the workload to a third party who served as a contractor. But I spoke to her, and she had told me that she couldn't be any more pro BMX. Rah rah rah. She lives it. She breathes it.
She does.
She totally does. Very nice. Was very honest. And she said, we, of course, we're in a different situation, right? She said, well.
We as in she is, or we as in we are?
Both of us. She said that.
Okay.
She goes, you're in a different situation. She said, somebody paid for it for us. We got a $100,000 grant. It's a big difference, right? And so, I think if TDC was really that motivated about it, maybe we should ask them for more money. But anyhow, let me finish what she said. She said, they probably will bid it again one day. She said, but, it's not the benefit that you might think. These are a handful of elite riders who travel specifically to go compete. She said there's maybe 200 elite riders in the world who go to these events. It's not the big bang unless you really are into BMX. It's not something that she felt from a kind of objective standpoint. It's not going to have the reoccurring people who got exposed to Oldsmar and they're going to come back.
Right.
It's not.
Or should we do it?
No, I didn't. I told her that we had shot it down, but that we're talking about it. And, candidly, I was one of the ones who asked this to be put on the agenda. And, after Bruce calls, he was city manager for 30 years. I respect his opinion. But she told me also that putting the amateur race together with it, she goes, I don't know how that would work. Because one of the reasons that we wouldn't come back to it now is because they changed the format from the 3-day to the 2. Mm-hmm. Which they did to accommodate television. But she said it doesn't give you any practical day for an amateur event because the amateurs, these are kids who are in school. And so depending on when you're going to try to have it, it was very difficult. They didn't think it would be workable. But anyhow, overall, in general, she had certainly positive things to say about the organization, but they weren't, super motivated to do it again.
And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but how many people applied for this? Do we know?
I don't know.
Is there a chance we were the only one that applied, potentially?
I don't know. Okay. So, it's possible, but to answer it wasn't a question really.
That's okay.
But UCI worked out a schedule with USA BMX and SSA so that the amateur racing, so the way that works is our track is lit and most tracks aren't.
Oh, I
And so the amateur racing would take place at night.
I see.
So.
Okay.
And then, so that's how that would work.
Why don't we go ahead and vote on the?
Well, no, I'm curious about other things. So the other point that Bruce expressed some real concern about that with the relationship, and you're saying you've had a very pointed conversation with Tim, and he said no impact at all.
From which perspective? From our relationship with them?
From our relationship with them.
That was the indication that I got.
And then BMX, USA BMX,
John
or
David.
SSA.
Obviously, we have a contract with them. I think they're very happy with what they get here. The service that we provide, the quality of the hill, I'm sure you probably.
The point that Bruce made was that, they help lobby for us as well. And, you know, now we're backing away from it after we've asked them to go out and
They did
work
write
on
a
it.
letter and.
Well, yeah, but the letter didn't really say a whole lot. It just said that if you host it in Oldsmar, they'll do a good job.
But you spoke to him.
I spoke to John David, and John David made a point to say that, and I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said that he's told everybody, and Rock Hill is a different animal. They basically have their own tourist development council to fund these kinds of things. And to the point that USA BMX has lobbied for us, Houston, that doesn't even have a track yet, got the world championship. And part of the thing was, and correct me if I'm wrong, was that, you know, you first have to kind of host a qualifier to be in line for the worlds. And I think to Bruce's point, and in all fairness to him and to us, we said, yeah, we'd like to do that. But that's when I started looking at the amount of international riders that already ride here. This isn't like just a U.S. event, that they already ride here. And of course, when we said, yeah, we're super excited, I don't know that we knew the magnitude of the cost, that it was, of the expense and the liability that was going to be.
Honestly, that was the first time I heard the expense when this came up. I don't know, maybe I should have just assumed because it's an international event that, you know, you're going to have to allocate that kind of funds to it. But.
And to that point, because I've experienced the USA BMX relationship with us, I thought it was a partnership as opposed to a one-off event, you know, and so. But John David, he did say that, you know, it definitely is a big expense. And that's why I brought up the parts of, you know, the other parts of how it affects our other things that we do in the city for people. And, you know, are we really going to host a world championship event here at $1.8 million? I don't know that we're positioned to do that, which is the next step.
Well, Mayor,
Stadium itself.
that's going to turn a lot. You indicated that this would not hurt our relationship with Pinellas County.
Correct.
And then you said.
That's my understanding.
And then you said that. See, that sends two messages to me.
What's that? What was the confusing part?
Would it or would not hurt our standing?
It would not. I don't think it would affect our relationship with the TDC from two perspectives. One, our relationship with them, but then our relationship with them moving forward with this site plan. It's going to be done by the advisory council. If it doesn't pass the advisory council, it doesn't go anywhere. Although the county commission could override it. They're tough. I'm going to tell you that the TDC is a tough thing.
They get a lot of requests.
Well, again, I ask, this will not hurt our relationship with them? No, you can't. You can talk to him. I'm talking to him.
Yeah, I talked to Tim, and he said absolutely not. It would not hurt our relationship.
Okay, but then you said the way. I'm just trying to get it straight in my mind. You said my understanding of it, or did he? Or you can't have an understanding of it, but did he actually say that?
Yeah, he said that. And let me separate the two things. One is the TDC vote that happens for the capital funding, which is a different thing. I don't know what the numbers are. Felicia or Al may know, but they also are partners with us in the Gator Nationals. Them and TIA. And I talked to, when I went and met with TIA on a separate business thing with somebody here in Oldsmar, I said something about the funding and banners, or maybe it was Felicia or something I talked to, and I said, you know, thanks a lot. We want to make sure we get the exposure out there for you. And he goes, he just kind of laughed in my face a little bit. But he said, we don't care about the exposure. We want to help you have these ongoing events, these ongoing events that he goes, if we want promotion, hello, we have the airport with everybody. So.
Okay, but then they also said that that they would rather support an oncoming or ongoing events and not one event.
Not a one-off. A one-off has no, this is mine in conversation with Tim. And also, I'm relaying to you the conversations that have happened on that TDC board with the hoteliers, you know, everybody that Felicia knows. You're putting together long projections of bed nights for, you know, we turn people down because they might have $75 million to build the building and put I think it was the American Craftsman Museum, but their bed night numbers were pulled out of a straw hat and they didn't have any track record. What a one-off doesn't help anybody. I personally would not support. Well, let me take it back. I would not weight this one event in my overall picture of the money that's being asked for.
Let's go ahead and vote on it then.
Well, I mean, if ever, Dan, I haven't.
I just want to say a couple things. When it comes to spending our taxpayers' money, as you guys know, over my term here, I don't like doing that. When it was the centennial, I paid the city back for any event we had. I don't like spending money. That's number one. Number two, I talked to Al about this. I'm a little concerned of the date. That's kind of hurricane season, so I'm thinking we might need some insurance for that, just in case of the weather. The event's canceled. So those are my only two concerns
And I asked the question, and I don't know the answer to this, but we also have a phase 1 and phase 2, or phase 1A and 1B of that complex, which was a capital project. Capital, not just expense, not just raw expense. For capital for that, and I think the 1B is I think I have them right. The 1B is the road, the entrance relocation. Is that correct? And then the fields and all that. I think that's imperative that we do. And I think the next step is to get SwiftMud on board, hopefully at least to give us another soccer field or area for another soccer field. But I don't know. That's a lot of taxpayer dollars.
A lot of money, and it's, here's the thing. If we were investing in like creating something that was reoccurring, that concept of us creating an event per se, then you could build on sponsorships every year. You can, you could justify the investment.
Well, and I think to the youth standpoint, it helps our residents in Oldsmar or Pinellas County. I mean, it's been 17 years. Some of these 4 and 5-year-olds could now be the 22-year-olds that are riding in some of these events. And how could we have some that are from here that, that race locally in here. And Nick Long, that's Donovan's son, and he came in by a skosh in 4th place at the Olympics. I mean,
Let's go ahead and vote on it.
Well, I want to make sure that everybody has a chance. I don't have a problem with it, but I want to make sure we're all heard, because I don't know what's going to happen between now and the next meeting if we vote to have another meeting. I don't know what this, I don't see anything happening, and I'll tell you this, that's going to change my mind. I don't think it's a smart, expensive taxpayer dollars, and that's just I think it's better served other ways to invest in that complex for capital things, whether it's improved concession stands for soccer and baseball and football. And when this thing leaves, I don't know if you talked to them, and Ann and I talked a little bit, but when they left, they just kind of, the door shut and everybody was gone. And like you said, unless you're a fan of BMX, it's just another event that came and gone, and some people didn't even know that it was there. I'd rather build on the events that we have here, and that's from travel ball and everything like that. And I think the TDC is in line with that as well. Because the restaurateur, the hoteliers, that's what they want. They want long-term heads and beds, whether it's at theirs or other ones, because that's what funds the TDC, or the Visit St. Pete Clearwater. So, anybody else?
No.
Sir.
Yes.
I think Felicia's going to explain this, but there was some feature of the revised understanding with the UCI where they were going to offer us right of first refusal for an additional event. Did I see that today?
Correct. So UCI indicated that they would put in the contract where we would have the right of first refusal for an event for the following year. They do want multi-year contracts. Some of the other locations have hosted as long as like 8 years. So, it's easier for them if they have a multi-year contract. Another thing that I did find out recently was we talked about the international media. I think it's important for you guys to know. It was broadcast in 42 countries, their whole series. So it was like 4 locations broadcast in 42 countries. And that this one would be the first qualifier, most likely for the Tokyo Olympics. So I just thought I'd throw out those couple pieces of information.
And I've thought about that, talking about long-term. The 2 people that are investing are also the 2 people, well, no, let me take that back, the 3 people. The city of Oldsmar, which we have the lion's share of, TDC, or Visit St. Pete Clearwater, and TIA. TIA and the heads and beds are the ones that are really going to benefit by us. And I assume that it would be a similar contract in that it would be a similar financial responsibility to host other events like this, I guess.
Very possible.
Yeah.
And if I could make one other comment just to what Councilmember Seidel said. I have not spoken to Mr. Ramsberger, although I did make an attempt. Bruce informed me, based on a conversation that he had with Sarah, I believe, that Sarah claims to have spoken to Mr. Ramsberger to suggest that if it was kind of conditional, it was no guarantee, but if we did accept the event, that they would consider increasing their portion, but the number he gave me was somewhere between 10 and 25 grand. No guarantee. It was a conversation about a conversation, But you made the point, maybe TDC would be willing to put in more. Conversational anyway, since I wasn't able to confirm that Sarah seemed to think that that was potentially possible. I don't know if you can take that to the bank.
When did this come up to the council? This, what, a month ago? A month and a half ago?
2 weeks.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks
The
ago.
last meeting.
I mean, this all came up suddenly. How long has staff, you and staff, well, not you, because you're new here. How long has staff been working on this?
3 months, maybe? 3 or 4? 3?
Fair to say.
But it never came to council.
Well, and I think to the point that we all made is, yeah, we'd love to do that, but when you throw the dollar amount at us,
I would like to have seen more time.
And it doesn't, I don't think it doesn't mean that we can't go back to them, Again, keep in mind, European countries, when I stood at the top of that hill and I'm standing there with the guy from Germany and China and Russia and Latvia and, the Netherlands, I feel like I'm on one of Gabby's vacations, but I'm still in Oldsmar. But those countries, they fund their sporting teams.
Right.
We don't, so for them to go to another country and go, hey, we want to host, okay, here you go, here's another check. We're Oldsmar, so.
I know how I will finally vote, but I would vote for the next meeting. That doesn't mean I would vote for it, but other than that, I'm ready to vote.
I don't know that anything's going to change between then and, but that's your right.
That probably won't change, but anyway.
Anything else?
No.
So the meeting would be at night or like at 4 o'clock in the work session on that date?
I don't know.
What would be the plan?
We would have to determine that. We could determine that after this vote, I guess, right?
That's what I would recommend.
Can we do that? Tom? Can you call the roll?
Councilmember Seidel?
Nay.
Councilmember Saraki?
Yes.
Councilmember McKee?
No.
Councilmember Beaverland?
Yeah, I would vote for the next meeting. That doesn't mean how I'd vote out the meeting, but I would vote for the next meeting, yes.
Mayor Beavis?
No.
Motion to schedule reconsideration of the 2018 UCI BMX World Cup agreement fails with 2 votes for and 3 against. Seidel, McKee, and Beavis against.
Thank you. It doesn't mean we can't revisit it again down the road, but there's a lot of liability and expense for us. I'll hold it for council comment. What else, Scott?
That's good for me, thank you.
Where are we at?
City Clerk.
City Clerk.
Item number 16, request to approve the use of the city seal for 5 listed organizations for 2018. This is an annual request. As you know, this use of the city seal is regulated by a statute. The organizations who are asking for approval is Relay for Life, the Upper Tampa Bay Chamber of Commerce for their events, Oldsmar Cares, Holiday Sharing Fund, and the newest request is from the Community Corner E-Blast for promotion of city events. City Clerk recommends approval of the use of the city seal for the listed organizations for 2018.
For discussion, a motion?
So move.
Second?
Second.
Tom, I have a question, and I apologize, Dan, I know this is your project, what is it called? Community Corner?
Yes.
Have we done things like that? I mean, that's not, correct me if I'm wrong, Ann or Tom, that we have partnership, Tom, we have partnerships with these other events, the city and the event. Is that safe to say or no?
Usually there's special waivers or some kind of sponsoring.
And are we setting ourselves up, and this is my concern, and no offense to the content, but we don't have any control over the content, and we're basically endorsing it by putting our seal on it, is that?
Well, we've done it before, we never just questioned it. What's this for?
Well, this would be
Basically a newsletter.
a JPEG that the city creates and it's in partnership with the city of Oldsmar. It wouldn't be coming across as though it was from the city of Oldsmar.
Mayor, can I explain?
I
I was going to let Tom answer the question. I don't want to open Pandora's box by.
Well, if it doesn't have that, that condition around it, that it was in partnership with, and it's just a city seal, it's going to look as if it's coming directly from the city. There's going to be an appearance or presumption it's coming from the city. So if we can change that to reflect in participation with the city, then it would reflect that someone else is taking the lead.
A good point, yeah.
Yeah. Because we don't, obviously, we don't have any content, just like we don't have control over.
Is this the email blast that you do?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
See, what it is the city does the graphics, Chris, or the Leisure Service Department does the graphics, and all we do is promote, the item or the event that's going on in the city.
Yeah.
So we just take that, I just take that graphic and I plop it into my newspaper.
Yeah.
So I blast it out to the
But
city.
if for say, you were to write something or put something that may not be
City related?
city related, or say there was a backlash to it, I think it's best for it to say in participation versus
okay.
like it's coming off as it's the city of Oldsmar sending
But
it
if we,
out.
is there a way to, because, I mean, is this where your annual, I don't know if you still do it, but the annual cook-off and concert and everything that you do at your pool, is that where that?
Right. And
that would be promoted in there? And that, see, that's, to me, that's not a city event.
No. I do all kinds of events. I do stuff for Oldsmar Cares, everybody. It's not just the city.
And I guess that's my concern is to.
I don't think we should do that.
Okay, well, can I finish talking first? I mean, if we separate it out where you put, these are the city events, I mean, would that, to separate us from the other parts of it, I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but I don't know that it's a great idea to be tied in with everything in case something goes wrong or anything.
No,
I don't know that it
it's
would.
strictly about one event. It's only a city event and the graphic includes the seal. And I just copy and paste
So it's the graphic, it's a graphic associated with, let's
the
say.
event. Tree lighting.
Do we have a contract with you or something for you to do that, or what?
Oh, he just
I do it as
volunteers
a
No, he
gift to the
volunteers.
city. I don't
Yeah.
ask
Okay,
for any money.
I thought it was going on the entire product.
No.
Yeah, is that what you're saying, like if it was going on like?
No.
the top of the email?
Strictly an event.
On our event.
For a city event only.
Tom, what do you think?
Well, obviously, you're doing it for all these other agencies, and you have no control of what they're putting in their marketing materials either. So if there's a concern for one, there should be a concern for all.
Yeah.
I think that if the vice mayor puts it into place and separates it out, or in participation with, that you can feel pretty good about that.
Yeah.
And by the way, you can always revoke that right to use. It doesn't have to be for an entire year. You can, but the statute requires you to authorize that, the use of it. So.
And to that point, I was just thinking that so many of these other events are one-offs in their partnerships with the city, whether it's the Holiday Sharing Fund, Oldsmar Cares, Wine Gala, Upper Tampa Bay Chamber, Oldsmar Days. Those are really kind of partnerships with, and it's about that one event. It doesn't have the other.
Yeah, I think if you just taken, essentially a flyer and promoting it for us.
That's all I'm actually taking the graphic that Chris designs or the Leisure Services Department designs, and I'm just plopping it in there.
Okay.
It's all their text. It's all the city's text. It's everything that they do.
That's fine. I mean,
It just
as
saves
long as
me
it's
time.
separated from the things that you have.
You don't
going.
want the perception to be that this is coming from the city, right?
All the other stuff.
Where I could see Dan putting in there, that it's coming from the city. And I want to announce my plans to run for reelection. No.
No, but that could wind up in
I
there.
know, it could,
It could wind up in there.
Just uses what's in there now.
Right, it just promotes.
And that's under our control. I'm fine with that. Okay.
Which, if you want to split hairs on it, I guess.
I mean, you got.
When we share stuff, no offense
Care to
about splitting
split.
hairs.
Yeah.
But like when we share,
Slow tonight.
Yeah,
On the
pick it up.
uptake out there.
when we share stuff that the city has posted, it's kind of along the same lines, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just thought the request was to endorse the whole packet.
Right.
Okay.
You got a motion?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Here's what I think on that. Too late. I think it's absolutely.
Tom will sign it.
fine. I think it's doing it in its heart. I have no problem with it at all.
Yep.
Thanks for asking.
Item number 17, adopt resolution 2017-20, declaring Eric Seidel as council member seat 1, declaring Gabby McGee as council member seat 3, and canceling the March 13th, 2018
Oh, I thought we
municipal
scratched this
election.
item.
And did we
I'm
skip
gonna
it?
read the resolution by title only. Resolution 2017-20, resolution of the City of Council of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, declaring Eric Seidel as councilmember seat 1, declaring Gabby McGee as councilmember seat 3, canceling the March 13, 2018 municipal election, and providing for the effective date hereof. Both candidates, of course, qualified unopposed. There's no need for an election. There are no referendum questions, anything of that nature. So we recommend adoption of resolution 2017-20.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Second? Oh, we should have let them vote. Can you do that? No.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to postpone this till the next meeting? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
That's it. Oh, Merry Christmas.
Yep, Merry Christmas. Council comments.
Are you going to let me have mine?
Oh, sorry. I must have torn that page off. All right.
The workshop for code
Oh,
enforcement.
yeah, we still got a bunch of stuff. Where are we at? No, we don't. No, we don't.
Number 18, code
That's the
enforcement
text.
work session.
I tore the back of my
That
meeting.
workshop.
Schedule workshop for code enforcement. Do you have dates? Do we have dates? Oh, there it is.
I do suggested January 9th or January 23rd. Councilmember Beaverland requested a council work session to discuss code enforcement in the city. Those were the two alternate Tuesdays to the normal meeting dates, which is why I suggested them.
I like the 9th.
The 9th is a problem for me. I have Dunedin code enforcement starts at 2. I'm not sure I'll be done by 4. Today's meeting went until 5:15.
I was going to ask for the 23rd just because the 9th is my mom's birthday. So.
And you'll be somewhere.
And I might be taking her somewhere and then she'll be mad at you all for.
I'm fine with whatever.
I'm not messing with Mom.
20 what?
Was the 23rd a problem for you,
I'm fine
Dan?
with that.
I don't know what's going on. I think yeah, so you guys want to do the 23rd. Something's going on there. Hold on a second. I don't know why I said no.
The leadership and all its fundraisers is the day before. If that's what you're thinking.
So we're doing it at 4 o'clock the 23rd? Yeah, it's okay.
23rd, 4 o'clock? Thank you.
This, I also included in this that I want to discuss the absentees for a council member. I'd like that included in this with information from the charter. I helped set this up years ago about absentees from council, and it wasn't the way it is now. The absenteeism, and we need to change it to cover everything. The absenteeism was for health. It wasn't for jobs or for vacations or anything else. You could not miss a council meeting for those reasons. So if we're going to forgive somebody for missing a council meeting, it should be spelled out it should have been spelled out to start with. We need to discuss that and change it so everybody understands what missing a council meeting means.
I think we had this in
the beginning. In the beginning, it wasn't for anything, but if you're sick or something happened to the family.
There were still a quantity of them that missed. You know, I think I've missed one for a cruise with my mom, but correct me, Tom, if I'm wrong, but wasn't it, or somebody, maybe Ann knows, wasn't it the way we were publishing the particular meetings that depending on how you notice it, that sometimes it went against what the charter said versus if it's a workshop versus what's the other option?
Special meeting.
Special meeting, isn't there?
Well, the
doesn't
workshops
one
count against your absentees.
I thought a special meeting didn't.
Well, in the beginning, a special meeting did count.
Okay. He's going to look. I thought that there was some.
We don't have to go through the charter now, but that's why I want to have the meeting to get it all straight, so we know what we're doing.
Please open your hymn books.
Have you ever read that thing?
Yeah, Tom's read
I've read it many, many times.
I thought it was one of the meetings didn't qualify.
I think the special meeting doesn't count,
Doesn't?
but I know the
The
workshops
charter is
count.
only like 23 pages.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, I read it.
Because I think Dan maybe missed one work session and it counted against your absentees. I'm pretty sure
does.
the work sessions
A work
do
session
count.
does.
My flight was late.
Maybe they should be considered as special meetings or something, like when we're picking out.
In the beginning, they were.
Yeah, but not count necessarily, and maybe that's how we're qualifying. Like when we picked out carpet for here, that was probably a workshop. I don't know that
I don't know.
should count against you if you
But,
can't.
it's been so long ago But that's what
Well, those shouldn't
the
be that
original
difficult
intent
because
was.
we actually look at the dates and choose them together. Like for me, if I miss a meeting for work-related, I don't pick that conference. Cisco picks that conference.
Right.
And because they pay my salary, I have to go to the conference.
Right.
So it's different with work sessions. We actually get to say on when we have the meeting.
Right.
Versus first and third Tuesday of every month, you know.
But a special meeting,
Yeah.
sometimes it maybe
But a
shouldn't
special
qualify, maybe
meeting,
it
we
should.
would pick the date also. So those don't really come into play.
Not very much, but they could work against somebody.
Yeah, they could. I mean, think about it. Maybe it's a scenario where everybody else can do it on that day but you.
Yeah.
And we go, yeah, I don't.
What does it read, Tom?
Okay, so section 3.07 says you forfeit your office when you fail to attend 3 consecutive meetings of the council unless the absence is excused by council. Work sessions are included. All special meetings are excluded. The second portion of that is you fail to attend 6 meetings of the council during the 12-month period. Work sessions are included. All special meetings are excluded.
Okay, so it is. But I think it became in the way we were noticing them, that we were noticing them like workshops when sometimes maybe they should be special meetings if it's, that's just the discussion that's been had before.
Well, workshops are not special meetings.
I understand that, but if we call what should be a special meeting a workshop and it really should be a special meeting.
Well, a special meeting, I think that falls under a different category, doesn't it?
It's covered, special meetings are excluded in both of these sections.
Which means they have less weight and are probably less significant than a workshop, no?
Usually a special meeting is for like an emergency type situation.
Oh, like if we had to do
You need
this.
to cover one subject, you want to do one thing, and you can't do it on your regular schedule, so it's got to be squeezed in somewhere, so.
As the mayor can call a meeting, a special meeting, anytime he wants without anybody else's help. I did that.
Okay, all right. Well, maybe then just an understanding of,
So.
that's fine.
So we need to address that. Because it's totally changed since that goes back to the 90s. Actually.
It's a charter change, so.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Mhm.
It probably should be saved for when we do have an elections, so that from a cost standpoint, it's practical.
It
to
should
do.
be in there and it should
And-
explain without any doubts.
Mhm.
Okay.
I don't have, I mean,
That-
if we
that's-
only have dialogue about it, I don't care, but I don't think it should be.
But maybe we should have the discussion because there will probably be an election next year. So,
In 19 there will be.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, like kind of in preparation for that upcoming election, it'll be here before we.
You can either have it at that meeting or at a subsequent one.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Or we can have it at a
Do we
planning
need
session or something.
to vote on the 23rd, or are we good, right?
I think consensus, we're good.
The only thing is I gotta double check, I might be in Tallahassee. That's the Suncoast League of Cities, I'll know tomorrow or Thursday.
Okay.
I mean.
We could always change it on the January 1st, the
Right.
second meeting, right?
And it doesn't have to be a Tuesday. I mean, we
I can do yeah.
No, by the January 2nd meeting, Dan, we can always change the date.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, good, thank you.
Meeting on the second?
Yes,
Yes.
I know. I asked Ann, I said, did we cancel that? And she said, no. I'm like, that
That's-
sounds like a very unusual date to have
But at that meeting, I'm.
Well, at least it's not the first.
That's true.
Anything else? Oh, sorry, council comments. Mr. Seidel. I'm sorry, my head's killing me.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have a couple of items. Just one, I did the ride-along that I had planned, was it last week? I guess we did it. And Deputy John and Deputy Cindy allowed me to ride along with them. I learned a lot, and I have to tell you, I get in the car with Deputy John, and right away, we get a call. And so I immediately, sprung into action.
Adrenaline.
That's it. And it was an alarm. And so we went, and as we pull up, I'm like, that's Gabby's house. So I just want you to know that we were protecting your, right off the bat, we were protecting you. So, but it was a lot of fun. We learned a lot.
Did you put your 45 on?
I was joking. I said to John as we were pulling up, because I spent half the day with him and half the day with her, I said, it was really great. I appreciate it. I said, but I didn't get to shoot anyone.
You guys would have
So
put
he
my,
looked at me and he goes, don't feel bad. I didn't get to shoot anyone.
I kind of wish you guys would have maybe put my brother-in-law in handcuffs that was there to help.
I don't know, Josh's pretty serious. I don't see him breaking out of jokes, but I do appreciate it. it was a great experience, and if you haven't done it, I strongly encourage you to do it. I'm impressed with how well our deputies know our town. A lot of their technology, of course, I was pretty interested in, but how well they know our town and the job they do. We're very fortunate to have them, but I did appreciate that. I was up in Charlotte this past weekend. There was supposed to be a football game, but
What happened? Only one team showed up.
but nobody told my team that they were playing anything, apparently. But I did notice something about the town that I thought was pretty cool, and I don't, it's just kind of something to think about. And that is, when you're walking around in Charlotte, you'll come across these, plaques and so forth that will share some point of interest on their history at that particular section. And it made me think, and this is really something for Beaverland, Councilmember Beaverland to think about, and that is there are some interesting facts about Oldsmar that I think it would be cool if we put some markers up that shared that fact.
I agree.
In different areas.
Like tonight out front when people were standing at that intersection.
Exactly.
Gary's house.
Yeah.
Here lies.
This man's got more Oldsmar history stuff in his house, and I think they have some of that in downtown Tampa at some of the parks.
But
Gaslight Park and.
He lives here.
Yeah, he lives here. Don't knock.
Think about that. It could be added to part of kind of the trail system and go see. Okay, I know we do the guided tours and stuff, but it just got me thinking that would be kind of a cool goal to try to get to.
At the corner of Pine Avenue and 580 or St. Petersburg Drive, part of the original sidewalk is there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You know what I would tell you too, to take it a step further, is maybe a different way to look at it is outside of kind of like the sort of bronze markers, is incorporating it into, as we build out our bike paths and our sidewalks, is you encourage people to walk. If, say, like we're doing the sidewalk decoration at Sheffield Park, what if the sidewalks every couple blocks have, a fact or a color, on the sidewalk, and it gives an interesting, and so people will kind of want to walk it and they learn something new as they walk it.
That's smart.
So.
Bike rental programs that they could ride. Yeah.
But outside of the football game, I did enjoy Charlotte. I went up with my two sons, so we had, and we even picked up a Tar Heel game while we were there. So
Oh, that's cool.
it's kind of nice. At least they played. Everybody have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, enjoy time, and Happy New Year. We won't see you till New Year. That's all I got, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I only have 2 items. I really enjoyed the Christmas tree lighting today. It was great. The choir, the high school did a great job. Chorus.
We had a discussion about
That's right.
what
I
the
heard
difference
you.
between a choir and a chorus
You even
is.
Googled it. I saw you.
Yeah.
And I'm leaving tomorrow for the Legislative Action Days in Orlando, so I'm looking forward to that. I'll give you guys an update when I get back next New Year. And Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everybody, and have a great holiday season. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Beaverland.
You skipped her. I got Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year's, and I hope everybody has a great year next year. I hope Jerry has a better year next year.
Yeah, we do too.
Don't get upset. Don't get upset.
Oh.
I know I did this one time, and I got a person here that was one of our employees that got really upset with me, and I didn't know I was upsetting her, but I did. Anyway, we need to redesign our mediums on 580 and on Tampa Road because they look horrible, or some of them look horrible. If you read, she's already ahead of me.
The best.
I think we already addressed that a couple of meetings ago, didn't you? Yeah, she said we got the wrong plans out there.
Well,
Got an answer for you. I can see her itching to tell you.
you can redesign them. I did have a landscaping company gang, and we landscaped a lot of the entrances of some of these great big subdivisions. Other than have the long landscaping, and I think this would look better, because they're hard to take care of, because they're so big. If you put circles, they would look better, and you could take care of them better. Anyway, would you want to say something?
Thank you. Yes, we actually have, we received a grant from FDOT for $135,000 to renovate the landscaping on 580. So those plans have been completed and they've been submitted to DOT for approval, so we're waiting for their approval. But it's really going to consist of bougainvillea now, so the primary trees are going to stay, and we're adding bougainvillea and perennial peanut that will, we think they'll...
You're adding bougainvilleas?
Yeah, bougainvilleas, and they're about this height, and I think they're going to be in a coral color. And the reason is because they're hardy in that landscape environment right now. I agree with you. And so the Indian hawthorns that were planted.
He agrees with me, thank you.
I agree with you too. How about that?
The Indian hawthorns that are planted right now in the medians, you won't see a recommendation for that kind of plant material come from our department, and that's because they have a lifespan. They actually only live about 7 years, so even if you care for them, they will die, and then they don't take the extra carbon monoxide in the middle of the roadway. So the bougainvillea is hardier. It'll add some more color pop to it.
And you're going to have to trim them along.
They're the dwarf variety, so they won't be they won't grow to need as much maintenance as you're envisioning for a larger bougainvillea.
I had a bougainvillea that I had to take down that was as big as a cloud, and you start taking those. In fact, I just took 2 of them out because I mean those things are wicked, and the big one.
Was that the one LJ was trying to tuck in and let him trim?
That was those ugly palm trees I had.
These are dwarf. It also stops people from jaywalking.
I'll guarantee they won't jump with. Okay, thank you. That's it. This will never happen, but have you ever tried to get out of Walgreens?
Mm-hmm. Which way?
And somebody wants to turn left. I'm surprised there hasn't been a major wreck there. That's all I got to say.
On Camp Road or on
Well, especially at like 4 or 5 o'clock.
Oh, you mean on Forest Lakes?
Yeah. And we need like a little right-hand turn lane there and a, you know.
No, not, yeah. It's horrible.
It does back things up pretty bad.
Almost
They're
that.
probably not the Walgreens, they're at the Chick-fil-A, because at 5 o'clock that place is packed.
I don't know if there's ever a plan to do anything to Forest Lakes with the county. That's a county road, I think, isn't it? Isn't that a county road?
Yeah, that's county road.
But I don't think there's any plans in the immediate future to
I
widen it.
I don't think there ever will be unless the city asks for them.
Because it goes
Anyway,
down, it backs up like a cheap toilet going down Forest Lake, so.
This is the south.
Yeah.
Thanks to the image.
What was
Anything else?
That's it. Thank you for who you are.
Ms. McGee?
I think just Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
I don't have anything either, to be honest with you. My head hurts, my body hurts. That's it. Have a great holiday. Thank you for a great 2017 City Council. I think we work together great. We may not always agree, but I think we have some great opportunities at the Oldsmar Sports Complex that will really put us on the map and really grow our brand locally with our kids and a much bigger impact for everything that we do. Because I think that's what's important. I know Al and I have talked about it is, you know, what's it do for our community and our kids and the youth and the families? That's what we're about, like that event tonight out at the, you know, at the tree. That's us, you know, so.
Actually, could I ask Al, or maybe Felicia, an update on the turf? How's that going?
I'm sorry?
An update on the turf? How's that
Should
going?
be going in soon.
Lucy, you got an update on the turf?
We're on schedule, and so.
Did the consultant come yesterday, or?
Consultant's been here.
Okay,
Been
the
here
whole time.
Back and
Okay.
forth.
Yeah, we hired a.
Yeah, what are we talking about? I have.
The sod for the soccer field.
Specialty consultant from the National Grass Advisory Group. They're very well known to come and help us renovate the 2 fields. So they're out there today vertiquaking and sand channeling. And we've added a lot of sand because of the drainage concern, so it's always wet in one part of the field. And so they're on schedule to install Field 3 sod, I think Monday or Tuesday of next week, and then Field 2 sod later on. We're switching a kind of turf to our hardier turf on field 2.
I was out there yesterday. I wanted to ride that sand throwing machine. It looked fun. Just
Called the Sandmaster.
Yeah, oh, that was great. I didn't know what I would do with it other than burying my kids at the beach, but it looked fun.
Yeah, I saw your picture. Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. Nothing else? Tom?
I got one thing to add.
Yep.
Please remember to lock your car doors.
Yes.
Yeah. We had another string of cars broken into, actually, when I was out with the deputies.
Where at?
Over off of Lexington. Back there.
They are hitting hard.
You would think people would learn, but they don't.
And by the way, I know we're not really responsible, but I think it carries more weight when we call a TICO about a light being out. One of the lights are out over there, so maybe we can call over on that street.
On Lexington?
Yeah.
You just took over my job by talking over, bringing up things after I'm finished. Thank you.
Sorry.
I haven't gotten an email.
But I just try to remember to lock your cars. It's that simple. Thank you, Mr. Bryan.
Yeah, and I haven't gotten an email from the 580 light guy that emails me a couple times a year with all the lights that are out, because for some reason he's out driving at 4 o'clock in the morning and sees them, but.
Well, we're lucky he calls you. And
not us.
When I say thank you, that's you, Tom, and that's you, and that's you. Thank you for who you are.
Don't put Kathy down.
Her and the staff.
The staff.
Thank you for who you are.
Thank you. And Deb Pauley. And Jeff. Back there in the booth.
Especially
Thank you.
Deb.
Thanks to the Academy. Adjourned.
She got my computer fixed. No, she didn't. She got my